Chapter 475. Yi Qinghan raised the yin-yang jade in his hand and spoke resolutely. Each person only had one chance to bid, and he could force the other party to raise their base price, unless they didn't want it. However, the yin-yang jade was not an ordinary item. It was useful to any cultivator. If it wasn't for the fact that Yi Qinghan didn't have top-quality spirit crystals, he wouldn't have given it up. No one wanted to be the first to bid. This was equivalent to bidding. The first person to bid would never get the yin-yang jade. However, everyone wanted the yin-yang jade. Yi Qinghan could see that many people's eyes were filled with excitement. Even if they were very secretive, they couldn't escape his eyes. You can send me a message. As long as the price is right, I won't be greedy. Also, I don't care how many top-grade spirit crystals you offer. I only want to see if the price you offer is to my liking. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Suddenly, more than 10 cultivators bid, including Yuan Shaoxi. Yuan Shaoxi directly bid 5 million top-grade spirit crystals. This was a sky-high price. Yi Qinghan smiled but didn't answer directly. He didn't care about supreme spiritual crystals. With his current cultivation, he didn't need so many supreme spiritual crystals. The most important thing was spiritual treasures of heaven and earth that were suitable for him. If someone took out the water origin, he would rather trade for it. An old man with white hair moved his body. His name was Fu Mantian. His family was rich and didn't lack anything except for treasures that could replenish vitality. Therefore, he loved stone gambling the most, and would always participate in every stone gambling. At this moment, he told Yi Qinghan that he loved the yin-yang jade to the bone. Daoist Yi, if you need anything, just tell me. As long as you are willing to sell this piece of top-grade yin-yang jade to me. Fu Mantian said in a low voice. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He looked at the old man in front of him and transmitted his voice. Sir, I know you need this jade pendant the most. Give me a price. If I'm satisfied, I'll trade with you. 10 million top-grade spiritual crystals. I still have some treasures. They are all in this interspatial ring. You can have a look. If you like them, you can take them. The old man was very forthright. After all, no matter how many treasures there were, it was not as good as living a little longer. Moreover, this was the 9 underworlds. If he died, he would return to the primal chaos and disappear forever. Yi Qinghan reached out and took the universe ring. He probed it with his divine perception, and a strange look appeared in his eyes. Fu Mantian was truly a tycoon. There were many divine medicines in the ring that were well preserved. There were also some iron scriptures and powerful weapons that were filled with vicissitudes of life. It was unknown how many years ago they were from. There were also strange ancient stones and sword steels that were carved with powerful sword techniques. Yi Qinghan carefully observed the items in the interspatial ring. The old man thought that Yi Qinghan was not satisfied, so he quickly said, Here are 10 million top-grade spiritual crystals. If it's not enough, I can add more. Yi Qinghan took the interspatial ring and roughly glanced at it. The number was about right, so he nodded and said, It's enough. The old man cleverly ran over. He was afraid that Yi Qinghan would break the jade pendant and hurt his vitality. At this moment, he stretched out his withered hand that was like a tree bark and trembled slightly. He looked a little pitiful. People were so helpless when they were alive. No one could stop the will of heaven. No matter how rich they were, they could not escape death. Now in order to survive, they were almost exhausted. Yi Qinghan handed the jade pendant to the old man. Yuan Shaoxi's mouth twitched. In terms of money or desire for the jade pendant, he was obviously not as good as Fu Mantian. In the end, he could only smile unwillingly. This jade pendant was equivalent to what he had given to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan took out 100 top-grade spiritual crystals and directly threw it to the ghost slave. He said indifferently, This is what I return to you. The rest is your reward. The ghost slave was pleasantly surprised and hurriedly took the spiritual crystals. 90 top-grade spiritual crystals was not a small number. Yuan Shaoxi frowned after being slapped. He really could not take it lying down. He could only coldly say, Let's continue. Everyone can choose as much as they want. After this round, let's play a few more rounds. Bid on stones and bet on your wealth. Everyone was excited and began to choose the divine stones. This time, the divine bird had the capital and specifically chose the big ones. Soon it chose a piece. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and began to calmly remove the miscellaneous stones. This time he cut it very slowly. After many people chose, they let their own stonecutter cut the stones. However, they themselves stared at the divine stone in Yi Qinghan's hand. Sha sha sha. The stone selection was fast, but the cutting was slow. Everyone waited patiently. Soon someone cried out in surprise. Someone had cut out something. Although the value was not great, at least it was not a loss. Ha ha ha, I cut out an iron scripture. Ah, it's empty again. My luck is really bad. Some people were happy, some were sad. Many people were full of expectations, but they cursed out loud. There were also some who were gloating. Stone gambling was about having fun. Sometimes, it did not matter what was cut out. As long as something was cut out, even if it was ordinary, it was worth being happy. Some people were afraid that they would end up with nothing. Hua Chengkong and Lai Yan, the two powerful cultivators, put their hands behind their backs and looked at Yi Qinghan. They hoped that the divine bird would pick out a treasure instead of a useless one. The divine bird held its head high as if it already knew that there was a treasure inside. It was so proud that it could not tell north from south. Yi Qinghan cut the stone very quickly. He was using brute force. Everyone was frightened. They could not accept that such a beautiful art of stone cutting could be so barbaric in his hands. Boom. After removing the miscellaneous stones, Yi Qinghan directly cut the divine stone with his saber. Several stonecutter masters almost cursed it out loud. How was this cutting a stone? This was clearly cutting a stone. It was worse than a novice cutting a stone. There was no strange phenomenon. Everyone could not help but gloat. There's nothing. The divine bird opened its eyes wide in disbelief. It looked inside the divine stone and found that it was indeed empty. There was nothing inside. It was just a piece of broken stone. Sometimes, treasures are hidden at the edge and not necessarily in the center. Brother Yi is too careless in cutting the stone like this, Fu Mantian quickly reminded. I don't believe it. The stone that I picked out is just a piece of junk. Go away and give me the dagger. I'll cut it myself. The divine bird was not willing to give up. It grabbed the dagger from Yi Qinghan's hand and lifted the two halves of the divine stone to the side with its sharp claws. It began its great plan of cutting the stone. The parrot was even more violent. It waved its little claws and cut the two halves of the divine stone into dozens of pieces. Still, there was no treasure. Everyone could not help but laugh. This bird was too funny. Emperor Yi and Li Shang were bored. They squatted down and picked a few pieces of the divine stone to cut for fun. In the end, they even wrapped the star-twining vine around a few pieces and began to devour the 9 underworlds' energy inside the divine stone. This kind of glutton was never picky when it was hungry. The parrot looked expectantly at another large stone. It waved the dagger again and cut it into dozens of pieces. Motherfucker, this divine bird has never failed before. This time will not be an exception. The treasure must be hidden in these small stones. The divine bird was not willing to give up and began to slowly cut the stone. Yi Qinghan and the others shook their heads. The stone had already been cut to this extent. If there was still a treasure inside, then it would be heaven-defying luck. Thus they did not pay attention to it. Yuan Shaoxi clapped his large hands. A few large divine stones were pushed out from the back. Judging from their appearance, their value was definitely much higher than the previous batch. Moreover, they did not have a price tag. It was obvious that there would be a bidding war. The divine bird was busy cutting the stone. It was not interested in the stones that came later. It did not need to fail, so it must succeed this time. Yi Qinghan did not expect the divine bird to help. The first stone was clearly a matter of luck. Thus, this time, it would depend on their own luck. For this round, I will be the banker. Everyone can take out their treasures. If the value of the treasure is higher than the one I cut, I will pay you 5 times the original price. If the treasure I cut is the most valuable, then I will take it all. Do you have any objections? Yuan Shaoxi said in a low voice. Everyone nodded and did not have any objections. They all took out their treasures as wagers. Yi Qinghan searched for his yin and yang ring. He was reluctant to take it out. After all, if he lost, he would not be able to get it back. Thus, he chose the demonic saber. If anyone is interested in the number 1 divine stone, they can all bid. Yuan Shaoxi was clearly the banker. He had already chosen the divine stone, and would not compete with others for it. This divine stone was as tall as a person. It had a strange shape, and was abnormally rich with the power of the underworld. It attracted many people's attention. I will pay 10,000 top-grade spirit crystals. I will pay 15,000. 20,000. These tycoons were not short of money. Even if the banker lost, he would not lose too much. Moreover, the banker would basically win half of the people, or even take it all. I am in a good mood. I will play with you. I will pay 80,000 top-grade spirit crystals. Fu Mantian's face was flushed. As the saying went, people were in high spirits when faced with happy events. Yi Qinghan was speechless. The stone had not been cut open yet, but tens of thousands of top-grade spirit crystals had been thrown out. This was not something that ordinary people could play with. It was not surprising that Dizun could lose all his fortune. Sure enough, once Fu Mantian made a move, the others did not want to bid anymore. The higher the price, the greater the chance of losing. Thus, Fu Mantian took the number 1 divine stone. Number 2 divine stone. Number 3 divine stone. The divine stones continued to be auctioned off. Each piece was worth at least 30,000 top-grade spirit crystals, but Yi Qinghan still did not make a move. These were not what he wanted. An hour later, more than 50 divine stones were auctioned. Lai Yan and He Chengkong both bid, and each got a divine stone. There were still 50 divine stones left. However, there were only a dozen people who could participate in the gamble. Yi Qinghan looked at Emperor Yi and Li Shang, who were busy cutting small stones. He shook his head and said, "You two come and choose one as well." Li Shang was overjoyed. She could not afford to play with such a heart-pounding game. However, everyone wanted to gamble with luck and make a fortune. Newbies were always lucky. She was looking forward to it. It was the first time for Li Shang and Emperor Yi to gamble on stones. No one was interested in their divine stones. They relied entirely on luck. As for stone gambling experts, they could see the color of the divine stones, the rules, and all kinds of tricks. Therefore, the two of them bought 2 divine stones with 50,000 top-grade spirit crystals. Yi Qinghan also chose a divine stone. After bidding, he spent 60,000 top-grade spirit crystals. 10 million spirit crystals might not be considered a tycoon. One stone gambling could cost him everything. Chapter 476. Everyone began to cut the stones. Just as they started, the divine bird suddenly shone brightly. The aura of treasures soared into the sky and drowned out the divine bird. Holy shit! What the hell is this? The divine bird couldn't open its eyes. The dagger in its claw fell to the ground. Yi Qinghan casually grabbed it. It was a beautiful bracelet with 4 exquisite bells hanging around it. The bracelet was filled with divinity. It looked a bit like an ornament used by a goddess. It could also be a weapon used by a god, but he couldn't recognize it. Everyone was shocked. They didn't recognize it. They only knew that the divine bird had dug out a treasure from a pile of rubble. They immediately felt envy, jealousy, and hatred for Yi Qinghan. Having such a divine bird was simply too good. For a moment, everyone forgot to cut the stones and stood there dumbfounded. Wow, what a beautiful bracelet! Emperor Yi took a liking to the bracelet and reached out to take it. She dripped a drop of blood on it and put it on her wrist, increasing its divinity. However, she didn't receive any memories of the bracelet. Yi Qinghan didn't take it to heart. No matter how powerful a treasure was, it was still a woman's item. If a man wore a bracelet, it would be strange if people didn't laugh their heads off. Moreover, Ren Huangye's mood was more important than anything else. She rarely took a fancy to things. Is that an ornament used by a god? Yuan Shaoxi was a bit jealous. Of course, he didn't want it to be a divine item. So many people had either gotten trash or worthless items. Yi Qinghan, however, had gotten 2 treasures. Clearly, he wasn't satisfied. Everyone looked at Emperor Yi, hoping for an answer. Lan Feng also looked envious. Moon Slave looked jealous and hateful. Emperor Yi shook her head. For a moment, she couldn't tell what the bracelet was used for. It didn't feel like a simple ornament, but she didn't receive any attack skills. It's fine. It looks pretty good as a bracelet, Yi Qinghan said dotingly. Hee, it does look good. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any attack skills. Emperor Yi swung the bracelet and made a pleasant sound. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration. He realized that this bracelet could be used together with the human emperor's zither to attack. It was definitely fatal to a person's soul. Caw caw caw. This divine bird has already said that I will definitely not miss you. The divine bird laughed arrogantly, and everyone was speechless. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He didn't expect that instead of being slapped in the face by Yuan Shaoxi, he would be slapped by his own spiritual pet. Seeing that everyone was looking at him with disdain, Yi Qinghan shook his head with a wry smile and began to slowly carve the medium-sized divine stone he had chosen. Emperor Yi, I'll make a bet with you. I'll bet with your bracelet. Do you dare? Moon Slave looked at Emperor Yi angrily and sneered. What are you betting with me? Emperor Yi raised his eyebrows and asked. A divine flower that is about to attain Tao in my life. Moon Slave gritted her teeth and said hatefully. Your life is worthless to me. You can't even exchange it for a small bell on my bracelet. Therefore, I am not interested. Emperor Yi said without holding back. Moon Slave was so angry that her body was trembling. She had been slapped in the face by Emperor Yi time and time again. She couldn't stand it anymore. If you don't dare, just say it. You only have a sharp tongue. You don't have any real skills. You are just a flower vase. Moon Slave said coldly. Everyone shook their heads. Moon Slave was indeed a little irrational to provoke Emperor Yi like this. If she lost, her life would be over. Before Emperor Yi could say anything, the divine bird was already unhappy. After all, Emperor Yi was its little master. It could mock him, but others obviously couldn't. Yo, you really have a sharp tongue. Come, this divine bird will bet with you. I will bet my life with you. Do you dare? The divine bird jumped onto Emperor Yi's shoulder arrogantly and stepped on the body of the star-twining vine. However, the star-twining vine didn't dare to move. Moon Slave's body trembled. This lowly bird had successfully cut out 2 treasures. It definitely had some real skills. If she were to bet with it, wouldn't it be like running into a knife's edge? I don't want to bet with a feathered beast. Moon Slave snorted coldly. You stupid flower vase. You only have a sharp tongue. You don't have any real skills. All you can do is clamor. If you don't dare to bet, then get lost. This divine bird is the divine emperor of all beasts. I don't want to be calculative with a flirtatious vixen like you. The divine bird immediately returned her words with interest. Emperor Yi smiled. This divine bird was always useful at crucial moments. Everyone was speechless. In terms of eloquence, who dared to compete with the divine spirit devourer eagle? Moon Slave was so angry that her face turned purple. In the end, she flicked her sleeves and retreated to the back. She didn't want to argue with the divine bird anymore. Yi Qinghan smiled. With the divine bird around, Emperor Yi wouldn't be at a disadvantage in terms of words. He calmly sharpened the divine stone. Unfortunately, he was very careful this time. He almost turned the stone into powder, but he didn't manage to cut out anything. He couldn't help but feel speechless. Could it be that his luck was all used up because he encountered the divine spirit devourer eagle? Something big would happen wherever he went. Was he purely a jinx? At this moment, not only were the people gloating, even the divine bird was gloating. It smiled and said, Master, now you know how important this divine bird is? Yi Qinghan. Li Shang smiled faintly and carefully cut the stone. This stone cost nearly 30,000 high-grade spirit crystals. It was enough to buy her. How could she dare to be careless? Whoosh! A beam of light shot up to the sky. Li Shang was lucky to have met Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. That was enough to explain everything. Indeed, she had cut out something. And it seemed to be quite powerful. The value of the treasure was definitely priceless. Everyone looked at Li Shang at the same time. Li Shang trembled slightly as she took out a bottle. The divine light was so bright that everyone couldn't open their eyes. Yi Qinghan squinted at the bottle. There was a layer of transparent liquid fluctuating in the bottle. The divinity was so strong that even the jade bottle couldn't stop the divinity from spreading. Hiss! Yi Qinghan sucked in a breath of cold air as his heartbeat quickened. His Dao heart was on the verge of becoming unstable. He excitedly rushed over and took the jade bottle. The weak water and quicksand in his body surged as if they were about to erupt. This is heavenly water. Damn, master, you're rich. This is much more awesome than the water origin. The divine bird said in shock. Yi Qinghan hugged Li Shang and lifted her up. He spun her around a few times and laughed. Ha 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 ha, this is my opportunity. Miss Li Shang, you really are my lucky star. Emperor Yi was delighted. Yi Qinghan only lacked the water origin. He didn't expect to find heavenly water that was even better than the water origin. This thing came from the chaos, and was the initial state of the water origin. Its value was more than just a few cities. Li Shang laughed happily. She hugged Yi Qinghan's neck and smiled like a flower. Yuan Shaoxi's body trembled and his face turned ashen. He had suffered a great loss this time. No matter what he got, it was impossible for him to surpass Li Shang's. Li Shang had won the championship, which meant that everyone had lost. Only Li Shang had won. This wasn't a simple compensation. Everyone's bet had to be given to Li Shang. Crack. Everyone clenched their fists. Their breathing was cold, and the temperature around them was dropping. After a long time, Yi Qinghan put Li Shang down. He didn't feel anything wrong. Li Shang was so excited that she forgot everything. She was filled with happiness and excitement. Everyone quieted down and held on to a glimmer of hope that they would find something better. Unfortunately, luck did not come. The probability of this kind of divine stone containing a treasure was too low. It was only about 1 in 10. In the end, other than Li Shang and a limited number of people who had found something, the rest of the people did not find anything. Not even Ren Huangyi. Yuan Shaoxi did get something good. Although he couldn't tell what it was definitely not as good as Li Shang's heavenly water. Li Shang received a lot of treasures. She even won Yi Qinghan's demonic blade. However, she had nowhere to put it. She didn't want it. She only wanted to give it to Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. She wanted to please them. She felt that they were her lucky stars. With them by her side, she wouldn't have to worry about being captured and sold. She would be a slave for the rest of her life. Or worse, she would end up on the top of the furnace. Master, sister, these are all for you. Li Shang said respectfully as she handed all the treasures to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan shook his head and handed over a Qianquan ring. I'll take this bottle of heavenly water. The rest are yours. You don't have to be so calculative with us. Since my son chose to save you and take you in, you are family and friends. You don't have to be so formal. Yes, sister, don't be so formal. I feel embarrassed. You helped Master find the most important heavenly water. There's no more gratitude between us, only family. Emperor Yi quickly said. Li Shang was very touched. She took the Qianquan ring from Yi Qinghan's hand and put away all the treasures. She was overwhelmed with emotions and didn't know what to say. Congratulations, Brother Yi. I wonder if you can sell a part of the heavenly water? Even if it's just a little bit, I'm willing to buy it with everything I have. Fu Mantian's face was brimming with glory. With the yin-yang jade and the heavenly water, he would be able to regain his youth and live for hundreds of thousands of years. There was a lot of heavenly water. Yi Qinghan could only use half of it at most. He didn't want to sell the other half. He wanted to leave it for Emperor Yi, Li Shang, and the others. The rest would be used to cultivate Guangzhong and the divine medicine. Therefore, Yi Qinghan rejected him without hesitation. Even if it was just a drop of heavenly water, he didn't want to sell it. Fu Mantian sighed. He didn't want to offend Yi Qinghan, so he could only say helplessly, since you don't want to buy it, I won't force you. If you ever want to sell it, please consider me first. My price is definitely higher than anyone else's. Yi Qinghan nodded. This was not the time to be merciful. Heavenly stone. Yuan Shaoxi shouted coldly. The third round began. This time, the bidding had reached its climax. No one expected so many treasures to be auctioned this time. Li Shang's heavenly water alone was enough to attract the attention of all the powerhouses on the 16th floor and above, including Shin Si. The divine bird made a solemn vow and boasted repeatedly, asking to participate in the bidding. Everyone stared at the divine bird. As soon as it made a bid, the others would raise the price like crazy. As long as the divine bird didn't give up, no one wanted to give up. The divine bird's eyes shone brightly. It thought to itself, "A bunch of bastards. I'll make you vomit blood." Chapter 477. Stone number 1 was forcefully raised to 800,000 top-grade spirit crystals by the divine bird. Yuan Shaoxi was a little uncertain. He thought to himself, could it be that there's a real treasure in this stone? The spirit engulfing godly eagle would never lose out. If there's really a treasure inside, I can't let it be taken by an outsider. Yuan Shaoxi gave a stranger in black a look, and that person immediately shouted out a high price of 1 million. This was the highest price for a stone in thousands of years. The divine bird had already seen this. Yuan Shaoxi didn't want to lose out, but he also didn't want to be taken advantage of, so he would rather buy it himself. The divine bird was very good at reading people's minds. Seeing that no one was bidding, it didn't raise the price. For the second stone, the divine bird shouted out 500,000 top-grade spirit crystals without hesitation. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes. How much did this bastard want to cheat people? Would it feel uncomfortable if it didn't cheat people for a day? Stone number 2 was finally bought by a tycoon on the 8th floor for more than 800,000 top-grade spirit crystals. The divine bird gave up bidding for the next few stones, and no one was interested. Li Chang then chose one of these stones, but the divine bird didn't bid. Everyone was waiting. Not long after, Emperor Yi also chose a stone. No one bid against him, and the price was very low. Together with Li Chang's stone, it was only 150,000. Stone number 8, start bidding. This divine bird offers 500,000 top-grade spirit stones. The divine bird stretched lazily and said the price. When it said the price, everyone followed suit. Even Fu Mantian wanted to take advantage of it, and the price became more and more ridiculous. Every time the divine bird stopped bidding, it couldn't take it anymore. Stone number 28, start bidding. The divine bird scratched Yi Qinghan's shoulder with its little claw, indicating that Yi Qinghan should bid. However, it didn't make a bid. Its movements were very subtle, but it couldn't escape everyone's eyes. Yi Qinghan pretended not to know. He waited until the second time to ask if anyone wanted to bid, then said, "Since none of you want it, I'll bid 150,000 top-grade spirit crystals. I'll bid 200,000. Just when Yuan Shaoxi thought that no one would bid, Lai Yin suddenly raised the price by 50,000 yuan. Yi Qinghan smiled and thought for a moment before calling out a bid of 210,000. 300,000. Slave Moon hated Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi to the core. At this moment, she didn't care if there were any treasures inside. She just wanted to cause some trouble for Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan smirked and stopped bidding. The godly stone landed in Moon Slave's hand. Moon Slave suddenly felt like she had been tricked. She didn't dare to cut the rock anymore. She was afraid that she would pay a huge price only to get a useless rock. The No. 30 Godstone had a strange shape. It was a little like a half-moon and could not hide anything. In the eyes of the crowd, Yuan Shaoxi obviously wanted to pass off a shoddy one as a good one. A hint of disdain appeared at the corner of the divine bird's mouth, which confirmed everyone's thoughts. With a base price of 80,000, Yi Qinghan directly called out a low price, leaving everyone stunned. "Hey, you have a lot of money. I earned it with great difficulty," the divine bird said angrily. Everyone saw the divine bird's serious expression and thought that it was really angry. They thought that Yi Qinghan was purposely calling out a price to lure others out. Naturally, no one competed with him, and he easily got the number 30 Godstone. Then the divine bird called out a high price for more than 10 Godstones in a row. It raised the price to the limit and then let go, leaving many people speechless. All 50 Godstones were sold. Everyone cut the rocks together with eyes full of anticipation. However, as time passed, everyone's expression turned ugly. The more they cut, the more disappointed they became. Especially the number 1 Godstone that Yuan Shaoxi ordered people to fight for. It was worth 800,000 top-grade spirit crystals. In the end, they didn't even get a single thing. Yuan Shaoxi's face turned pale. He looked up at the divine bird and found that it was smirking. He was angry and knew that he had been tricked. Half an hour later, all the stone-cutting masters were stunned. They didn't get a single treasure. However, Yi Qinghan cut out a good refining material from the waste rock in his hand. Li Shang was very lucky. She got a treasure twice. This time, she got a chaos treasure. It was a lightning-shaped sharp sword that shone brightly. It could cut through iron like mud. It attracted people to bid for it. However, she couldn't bear to sell it and kept it. The winner was still Li Shang. She won a lot of treasures. Emperor Yi still didn't get anything. He couldn't help but feel dissatisfied. He pouted and glared at the divine bird. It seemed that the bird's reminder was inaccurate. Ha ha ha, I'm just teasing you. The divine bird laughed. Flames flashed in Lai Yan's eyes. This time, she had been cheated of hundreds of thousands of top-grade spirit crystals by the divine bird. In the end, she didn't get anything. She was dissatisfied. The divine bird had offended everyone this time. If they still didn't know that the divine bird was deliberately playing with them, they would be pure idiots. Yuan Shaoxi calculated his losses. All the spirit crystals he had earned from these godly tycoons had been lost to Li Shang, and he had even lost quite a bit. Furthermore, he had been disgusted by the divine bird. He was unable to suppress his anger, and his fingertips were trembling. The third round began. The divine bird called out the price from the beginning until the end. In the end, no one competed with it. In the end, it spent 1,000,000 spirit crystals and bought all 50 god stones. The starting price was not even close to the price of the god stones. Yuan Shaoxi lost hundreds of thousands of spirit crystals. Ha ha ha, Yuan Shaoxi gritted his teeth. He wanted to slap the divine bird away. This time, he didn't manage to trick Yi Qinghan. Calling him here was the biggest mistake. Yi Qinghan was too lazy to cut the stones. The divine bird had bought so many stones, so he would let it cut them slowly in the future. After obtaining his own fateful encounter, he prepared to leave and head to the main city area to look for Ren Huangye's fateful encounter. Yuan Shaoxi couldn't wait for them to leave this place immediately. He had lost at least tens of millions of spirit crystals by causing trouble here. Yi Qinghan left with Emperor Yi and the others. Lai Yan and He Chengkong looked at each other, then quietly left the crowd's line of sight. Yi Nu followed them. Finally, Lan Feng also left Shaoxi's side courtyard. Everyone knew that Lai Yan, He Chengkong, and Yi Nu were targeting Yi Qinghan. Lan Feng was obviously trying to ruin Yi Nu's plan. As soon as Yi Qinghan stepped out of Shaoxi's courtyard, he knew that a few people were following him. He didn't think too much about it. As long as they weren't sovereigns, no matter how many great sovereigns came, they would just be food for the star-entangling vine. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The three of them rushed out of the city. Lai Yan and the others followed closely behind. At this moment, two peak great sovereigns suddenly flashed out of the city. They were armed with spears and armor. Their emperor's aura was restrained. They directly rushed toward Yi Qinghan and the others. The three teams were as fast as lightning. They chased after each other as they traveled through the mountain range. Yi Qinghan didn't want to get into a conflict at this time. Thus he increased his speed with Emperor Yi and Li Shang. They directly shook off the two teams behind them and disappeared from everyone's sight. The netherworld eye was activated to the limit, frantically searching for Yi Qinghan's traces. On the 9th floor, Feather Emperor and the others were shocked. They were stunned by Yi Qinghan's speed. What kind of secret technique is this? Do you know? Feather Emperor asked with a frown. This is the sorcerer race's sorcery wind mark. A weathered old man was filled with the marks of time. No one knew how long he had lived. The sorcerer race was a race with a long history. They had weathered countless storms and faced extinction several times. In the end, they survived. Unfortunately, they failed in their last attempt and disappeared without a trace. Now Yi Qinghan represented the sorcerer race and appeared in the world, shocking everyone. Back then, the sorcerer race was beaten down from the middle plane by the supreme gods. Countless people were killed and injured. Who would have thought that they would appear again today? Feather Emperor had lived for countless years. Naturally, he knew about the ancient secret. Many people knew about the war in the endless plains. It wasn't a war that could be swept away by a simple forbidden area. This was because there were experts from the Middle Plane who participated in the war. Otherwise, how could the 12 great sorcerer ancestors be sealed? A few of them were even killed. On the 6th floor, Yi Qinghan used stellar transposition and broke through the void to enter the main city. As soon as he entered the city, he chose an inn. After choosing 3 rooms, he said, "Rest for today. I'll replace the quicksand and weak water with heavenly water." As soon as Yi Qinghan entered the room, he began to cultivate in seclusion. He took out the heavenly water and absorbed a dozen drops. He swallowed them directly and swallowed them into his stomach. It was as if his body was about to be sealed as a god. He forced the weak water out of his body. His divine body was sparkling and translucent. If it wasn't for the formation's restriction, he would definitely be able to attract celestial phenomenon. The Eye of 9 Serenities was blocked. No one knew what Yi Qinghan was doing. They could only wait patiently. Yi Qinghan transformed his body bit by bit. The 5 elements appeared. 5 dragons coiled around his divine body. Under the stimulation of the heavenly water, the origin of fire was promoted to a 9th grade fire origin. He continued to refine his body. In one day and one night, Yi Qinghan proved his Tao with his physical body. Thunder rumbled, dark clouds gathered in the sky, and lightning covered the sky. Countless strange phenomena appeared. It had been many years since someone proved their Tao with their physical body. Yi Qinghan had once again created a miracle. Yi Qinghan has proven his Tao. Not only the 9 serenities but also the endless planes. Yi Qinghan's body flew out of the insane sect on its own. Countless lightning bolts flashed and thunder rumbled, shocking countless heroes. His soul entered the 9 serenities, and his body proved his Tao with his physical body. Moreover, Divine Lotus Empress had already proven her Tao. This was a breakthrough. Because Divine Lotus Empress had proven her Tao before, Yi Qinghan's body also proved his Tao. This meant that his body would have to endure a lightning tribulation that was several times stronger than Divine Lotus Empress. This shocked the heroes, and they couldn't even control their breathing. Whoosh! A lightning bolt flashed across 10,000 miles, piercing through the void and striking at Yi Qinghan's body. In the Eastern Barren Territory, where Divine Lotus Empress grew up, the lightning serpent looked at the sky and clenched its fists. Its eyes were filled with unwillingness. "Master, we can't have 2 emperors in one life. If Yi Qinghan proves his Tao, he will not let you go." The serpent bowed and said to Divine Lotus Empress. Divine Lotus Empress's eyes flashed. She was hesitating. Killing Yi Qinghan's body and cutting off his way back was the best choice. The path of proving one's Tao was merciless. The one who lived to the end would be the king. "Master, please reconsider. You are the only great emperor in the world. You stole his faith and made him your enemy. He will not let you go. Not to mention, those who are not of our race are not loyal to you." The serpent reminded. Chapter 478. The sky was like ink pouring down in torrents. Dark clouds covered time and space, not a single ray of light could be seen. There were no more powerful cultivators in the galaxy. They all hid on the ground and trembled slightly, not daring to raise their heads to look at the terrifying lightning tribulation. This lightning tribulation was even more terrifying than Divine Lotus Empress. Its might could even break the leg bones of a quasi-emperor. No one could resist this kind of aura. A peerless figure soared into the sky. Golden light paved the way, accompanied by the laws. The origin was overjoyed. It tore apart the darkness between heaven and earth, illuminating the endless plains. That peerless figure stood proudly in the sky. His black hair danced in the wind. The heavy sword in his hand was constantly evolving. Countless treasures and materials were integrated into the heavy berserk blade. Divine light rushed into the sky. The emperor physique was finally formed. Yi Qinghan's body involuntarily flew into the void. He stepped into the wilderness and stood on a huge dead star, waiting for the lightning tribulation to baptize him. Hua! A 10,000-mile-long lightning dragon crossed the void and tore apart the shackles. It turned into a sharp sword and rushed towards Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan didn't even try to dodge. He was just a physical body without a soul. He could only wait for the lightning tribulation to strike him. The spectators shuddered in fear. This kind of lightning tribulation, let alone a physical body, even a complete great emperor would be blasted to death. Boom! Lightning fell from the sky and directly entered Yi Qinghan's body. Instantly, flesh and blood flew everywhere. The 5 elements circled around him and turned into a golden dragon. It spun wildly and healed his injured body. Yi Qinghan's original body was bathed in a river of blood. The quasi-emperor robe on his body was directly blasted into pieces. Golden divine blood dripped onto the Death Star. The vigorous vitality was even stronger than the lightning. It collapsed mountains and rocks. A drop of essence blood could kill a great emperor. A strand of black hair was cut off by the lightning and turned into a divine weapon. It pierced through everything and rushed towards the top of the clouds. Boom! The lightning and the black hair collided. The sky collapsed and the earth cracked. There was a burst of brilliance between heaven and earth. The remaining lightning pounced towards the main body, stealing his soul. His injured body had just recovered when the lightning attacked again. However, its power was weaker. It tore apart the emperor physique again, wanting to completely destroy Yi Qinghan's body. 1-2 countless bolts of lightning submerged Yi Qinghan's body. At this time, no one could help him. Even Divine Lotus Great Emperor could only protect himself. He couldn't save anyone. The tyrannical emperor's physique was torn apart and healed time and time again, becoming stronger and weaker. The origin of heavenly water was transmitted into the physical body through the soul, and turned into a water dragon to defend itself. The origin of heavenly water was responsible for healing the injured body. The flames burned the sky and the firmament. Gradually, the physical body was no longer passive and started to have a certain level of defense. The physical body finally had a chance to breathe. In the endless plains, all living beings were praying and blessing Yi Qinghan. Even though he had disappeared for many years, his achievements in the past could not be erased. Everyone remembered him in their hearts. Streams of power of will turned into the purest form of faith and rushed into Yi Qinghan's psyche ocean. Even Divine Lotus Great Emperor didn't know about it. At this moment, the people of the world were endlessly providing power to Yi Qinghan, allowing him to heal his injured body as quickly as possible and even strengthen his body. Yi Qinghan's divine body shone with golden light. He kept waving his hands to block the lightning. The thunder tribulations turned into nothingness, and the mad heavy saber was also bathed in lightning. The saber was broken, but it could repair itself. With the support of the origin laws, the mad heavy saber had the Emperor's aura, the real Emperor's aura. Far away in the void, Divine Lotus Great Emperor looked at Yi Qinghan coldly. She thought that with her as a stumbling block, Yi Qinghan would not have another emperor in the endless plains. She didn't expect that Yi Qinghan would be able to overcome the thunder tribulations with his body alone. The path to becoming a great emperor was filled with corpses. The great emperors in the mortal world were not something the great emperors in the 9 underworlds could compare to. There were countless great emperors in the endless plains, and the number of great emperors in the endless plains was also terrifying. The great emperors in the endless plains were as rare as the middle gods in the middle plains. The battles between the great emperors were no different from the battles between the great emperors in the endless plains. There were no emotions, only bloody battles, fighting for resources and fighting for faith. If Divine Lotus Great Emperor wanted to reach the peak, Yi Qinghan could not be allowed to live. I didn't want to kill you. Divine Lotus Great Emperor walked on the river and appeared in the center of the monarch domain. What is she trying to do? Gu Qingyu was shocked and wanted to stop her with his sword, but he was stopped by the others. At this moment, no one was a match for a great emperor, not to mention Divine Lotus Great Emperor, who had cultivated for 1,000,000 years. She wants to kill. Xia Qiyu opened his eyes slightly, and they were filled with majesty like a dragon's eyes. Now his chi was overwhelming, and his heavenly dragon Saint blood filled the sky. He was already planning to reach the Tao realm and break free from Divine Lotus Great Emperor's control. Are we just going to watch? Gu Qingyu looked at the others and asked in a deep voice. Watch. Qinghan can only rely on himself now. If we go, we will only die. Once Divine Lotus Great Emperor kills any of us, she will know that Qinghan will be her sworn enemy. We are only here to force Divine Lotus Great Emperor to take action. Di Shang said solemnly. The others couldn't help but admit that Divine Lotus Great Emperor was still hesitating. If she didn't kill Yi Qinghan's body, she would have a chance to escape. However, if she killed the people of the insane sect, it meant that there was no room for negotiation between her and Yi Qinghan. The golden crow flew out of the eastern barren territory and created a raging fire. It rushed towards the monarch domain and stopped Divine Lotus Great Emperor. Now that it had almost proven its Tao, it could control ninth-grade flames and was unrivaled under the Great Emperor level. The golden crow was confident that it could stop Divine Lotus Empress. Beautiful sister, let's talk nicely. There's no need to kill. Although the golden crow was strong, it was still no match for Divine Lotus Great Emperor. Little golden crow, leave. This is between me and Yi Qinghan. Don't make me want to kill you too. Divine Lotus Empress spoke in a low voice, her voice echoing through the mountains and rivers. No. If you kill Yi Qinghan, my brother will die too. The little golden crow's chi exploded. Devouring Spirit Eagle is not your brother, you idiot. Divine Lotus Great Emperor frowned and scolded. I know. But it gave me hope and let me not cultivate alone. In my eyes it is my big brother. I also know that its feelings for me are real. It is definitely not fake. The little golden crow said seriously. Divine Lotus Empress clenched her fists as a cold light flashed in her eyes. She said coldly, if it wasn't for your father saving my life, I would have already killed you. Now, I'll give you another chance to choose. Choose me or the devouring Spirit Eagle. The little golden crow said helplessly, do I really have to kill you? There are countless realms, and you have no grudges against each other. You can even work together in the middle realms. Why do you have to kill each other now? You don't understand the power of faith. I need the faith of the endless realms, and he won't give it up either. Only one of us can exist. Choose. Divine Lotus Great Emperor said coldly. Beautiful sister, let me remind you. If you insist on killing him, I won't stop you. I can't stop you anyway. The little golden crow said helplessly. What is it? Divine Lotus Great Emperor frowned and asked. Yi Qinghan has great merits. He received faith because he fought for the endless realms until his emperor body collapsed. He suppressed the mechanical civilization and destroyed the forbidden lands. Countless living beings were grateful to him, and that's how he received faith. All of this was done willingly by countless living beings. If you kill him, will they be willing to believe you? Maybe it will backfire, and they will hate you. The little golden crow analyzed seriously. Furthermore, yin and yang coexist in this world. You belong to yin, and he belongs to yang. There is no conflict between the two of you. With yin and yang emperors coexisting, the power of faith will not conflict with each other. Instead, it will help your cultivation. Beautiful sister, please think twice before you act. Don't listen to the slanderous words of a villain and kill a virtuous emperor. It will only affect your fate. Divine Lotus Great Emperor was dazed. She was a pure person, and it was easy for her to be misled. The lightning snake was a cunning shapeshifter, so it was definitely not a good thing to follow her. The Great Emperor tribulation was still going on, and it was almost heaven-defying. It shattered one giant star after another, and the universe was like hell on earth. Black holes swirled around, devouring everything. Yi Qinghan's body was getting stronger and stronger. His emperor aura was vast, but the blood kept flowing. Hua! Yi Qinghan's physical body started to fight back. He swung his saber, creating a 10,000-foot-long dragon that was mixed with sharp lightning bolts. The terrifying power made Divine Lotus Empress more vigilant. At this moment, the lightning snake appeared and said respectfully, Master, you may be merciful, but Yi Qinghan won't. What if he kills you? I know there is a saying in the human race, kill 10,000 by mistake, don't let one go. Divine Lotus Great Emperor hesitated, and she struggled for a while, but she didn't respond. The path of the Great Emperor is filled with corpses. If you kill one now, you will save 10,000 in the future. Great Emperor, please do it. As long as you kill Yi Qinghan's body, he will be trapped in the cycle of reincarnation. Even if he can be reincarnated, he will not be the real Yi Qinghan when he comes back. The lightning snake knelt on the ground and tried to persuade again. Divine Lotus Great Emperor sent the golden crow flying with a palm strike. The golden crow smiled bitterly, and it glared at the lightning snake. The lightning snake sneered. It knew that the golden crow wouldn't dare to do it. It wasn't that it was afraid of itself, but it was worried that Divine Lotus Great Emperor would be angry. Boom! A loud explosion broke the silence. Yi Qinghan's body was penetrated by a bucket-sized lightning bolt. Even his bones were penetrated, and he fell from the sky. Kill. Divine Lotus Empress murmured. Her robe fluttered and a green lotus appeared in her hand. It pierced through the sky and pressed down on Yi Qinghan's body. The green lotus looked weak and feeble, but it contained the power to destroy mountains and rivers. It pierced through the void and crashed into Yi Qinghan's body. Bang! The lightning bolt didn't destroy Yi Qinghan's body, but it took away half of its life force. Chapter 479. The godly lotus shone with an indestructible green light, and broke through Yi Qinghan's defense. Godly blood splattered everywhere and burned a dead star. The yin and yang in heaven and earth reversed, and the living beings cried out in pain, but they couldn't stop the godly lotus empress. Puffed out in the reincarnation, Yi Qinghan's soul spurted out a mouthful of blood, and his face turned pale. His body was dying, and his soul was affected as well. Damn that godly lotus! Yi Qinghan closed his eyes, pushing his soul perception to the limit. He wanted to use his physical body to fight, but his physical body and soul were currently facing the difference between life and death. They were separated by an entire cycle of reincarnation. He could vaguely sense his physical body, but he couldn't use it. Son, come quickly. Yi Qinghan's soul was exhausted, and he said with a hoarse voice. Emperor Yi was still playing with the godly bird in his room, and when he heard Yi Qinghan's call, he immediately rushed into his room. Yi Qinghan's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. Emperor Yi was shocked. He didn't know what had happened. My fleshly body is proving its Tao in the endless planes of existence, Yi Qinghan said. But Empress Divine Lotus attacked me. You and I are one, so I need to use my fleshly body to protect it. Emperor Yi closed the door and cast a seal, and they became one, without any shyness or evil thoughts. The two of them became one, and their souls became one. The two terrifying souls intertwined with each other, and Yi Qinghan's perception instantly increased by dozens of times. With Yi Qinghan as the lead, he broke through the shackles of reincarnation, and could clearly sense his physical body. Yi Qinghan held Emperor Yi in his arms without any distracting thoughts. His spirit was completely relaxed. In the endless plains, the godly Lotus Empress had already attacked, and she wouldn't stop. She controlled the green lotus and slashed at Yi Qinghan's body again. The physical body waved its hand and slashed at green lotus violently. The two great emperor weapons collided violently, causing the heavens to collapse and the earth to crack. Qi soared into the 9 heavens. A shockwave shattered the primordial world, and rushed towards the imperial domain. Divine Lotus Great Emperor, it wasn't easy for you to cultivate back then, so I didn't let my sister take your Tao fruit. Today, you repay kindness with enmity and want to kill my master. Yi Qinghan's voice came from within Yi Qinghan's body. It was an angry rebuke directed at Divine Lotus Great Emperor. It's Emperor Ye's voice. Isn't she reincarnating? The heroes of the Guangzhong were shocked. They did not expect Emperor Ye's soul to cross time and space and appear in Yi Qinghan's body. Divine Lotus Empress was also shocked. She didn't expect Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi to be able to combine their yin and yang to control the body. Yi Qinghan didn't say anything. Instead, he quickly healed his injuries. His body radiated with divinity, and the 5 elements battle dragons intertwined. It was as if a god of war had descended. The power of faith was so dense that it flowed throughout his body, healing any injury. It's because you saved my life that I have forgiven the Guangzhong. Now we are even. Divine Lotus Empress stared at Yi Qinghan. She was not in a hurry to attack. She was confident that even if Yi Qinghan's soul really came out of reincarnation, she would still be able to kill him. Even if the debt of gratitude is not there, there is no enmity between us. Why did you attack and kill my master? Emperor Yi asked angrily. The path to becoming a great emperor is filled with withered corpses. Why would a great emperor kill someone? He stopped me from reaching the pinnacle. That is the reason. Divine Lotus Empress replied coldly. Looks like this battle is unavoidable. Ren Huangye's voice rang out again, shaking the mountains and rivers. You can all reincarnate in peace. This body, I will send it back to its origin. Divine Lotus Empress then formed a hand seal and countless lotuses appeared. They carried a monstrous godly aura and slashed towards Yi Qinghan's body without hesitation. The clouds dispersed and the sky was clear. However, there was a suffocating pressure that made it hard for people to breathe. Yi Qinghan slowly opened his eyes and stared at Divine Lotus Empress with a pair of terrifying eyes. Divine Lotus, do you really not regret attacking me? Have you ever asked yourself if this is your true heart, or if you've been bewitched by others? Yi Qinghan asked hoarsely. Divine Lotus Empress waved her hand and the lotuses returned to her hand. Who told you to kill me? Yi Qinghan frowned and asked. In the monarch domain, the lightning snake trembled. It didn't think that Yi Qinghan could really appear here to save his master. Divine Lotus Empress didn't say anything, her heart wavering. You have just transformed and don't know much about human nature. I don't blame you for what happened today. As long as you retreat and cultivate in peace, you and I will still be friends. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice, but let me remind you, you better not believe the words of some followers. Master, he is just stalling for time. Why should we be afraid of him? As long as you can kill Yi Qinghan's physical body, the endless planes will provide you with an endless supply of faith energy. The endless planes will be the foundation for you to condense your godhood. The lightning serpent roared. Hua! Yi Qinghan slashed out with his saber. The 7-foot heavy saber shattered spacetime as it mercilessly killed the heart lightning snake. Puchiarg! No matter how fast the lightning serpent was, it couldn't completely dodge Yi Qinghan's terrifying attack. It was sent flying thousands of miles away. Its body was destroyed, and it didn't even have a tenth of its vitality left. This was Yi Qinghan's current battle prowess. Even the simplest attack was not something that a superclass expert could deal with. Yi Qinghan saw that the lightning snake was still alive. He waved his hand and grabbed a grain of sand. With a flick of his finger, the sand turned into the most terrifying weapon. It pierced through the void and attacked the lightning snake. Boom! Divine Lotus Empress moved. She used a small lotus to neutralize Yi Qinghan's attack and saved the lightning snake's life. A few figures rushed out from the insane sect and attacked the severely injured lightning snake. The lightning snake was shocked. He turned into his lightning form and rushed into the depths of the endless plains. His speed was so fast that it was comparable to an ordinary great emperor. None of the insane sect's experts had speed, so they could only watch him escape. Kill! Divine Lotus Empress frowned. She turned into a heavenly lotus and attacked Yi Qinghan fiercely. 5 elements combine berserk strike. Yi Qinghan's aura rose. The 5 elements battle dragon poured out along the berserk strike. Roar! The heavenly dragon roared and attacked the heavenly lotus. The 2 sides shone brightly. One was overbearing and wanted to fight back. The other was like a god that wanted to suppress everything. The 2 forces were completely opposite. One rushed down, and the other pressed down. Boom! The heavenly dragon crashed into the heavenly lotus defensive barrier. However, the heavenly lotus pressed down on the heavenly dragon with heavenly might. The 2 sides were at each other's throats. Boom! 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 The stars under Yi Qinghan's feet shattered. It couldn't withstand the attacks of the 2 great emperors at all. Yi Qinghan fell down. The heavenly dragon's aura was suppressed by Divine Lotus Empress for a few thousand meters. Divine Lotus Empress's power was fully displayed. Combined attack. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's souls combined as one. They controlled the body at the same time. One of them controlled the zither while the other controlled the human emperor's zither. It was terrifying. Wang, wang, wang. The sound of the zither filled the heaven and earth. It turned into a sonorous sound that was filled with killing intent. Emperor Yi slowly used Yi Qinghan's 5 elements to pull his body out of Yi Qinghan's body. He stood on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. Zither transformation. Elegy of the Great Emperors. Song of the Buried Emperor. Hua! The strings of the human emperor's zither were pulled. Emperor Ye's fingers were so fast that they couldn't be seen clearly. The sound of the zither was restless. The pressure in the heaven and earth was so strong that the Tao heart of the great emperors collapsed. The battle of the wilderness appeared again. It was as if countless great emperors had fallen. The song of the buried emperor had buried all the heroes in the world. Divine Lotus Empress's aura was suppressed, and her battle power was reduced by more than half. The heavenly dragon exploded. Yi Qinghan twisted the space with his feet and counterattacked, breaking through Divine Lotus Empress suppression. The sky could no longer suppress Yi Qinghan. He was like a ferocious dragon, slashing at Divine Lotus Empress. The saber shattered the space, and the saber lights in the sky disappeared. However, they suddenly appeared again and surrounded Divine Lotus Empress. Humph! The giant heavenly lotus behind Divine Lotus Empress shook, and the time reversed. The reincarnation whirlpool spun crazily and took away all the attacks. Berserk 9 strikes combine, all Daos submit. Yi Qinghan stared at Divine Lotus Empress and slashed out 9 times in a row. The 9 strikes merged into one and formed a giant saber that slashed at Divine Lotus Empress. The saber was indestructible, and even the reincarnation couldn't stop it. It ignored all illusions and slashed at Divine Lotus Empress. Divine Lotus Empress was shocked and had to dodge. Hua hua hua. However, Yi Qinghan wouldn't let her dodge. He turned around and slashed at her. The saber slashed horizontally, almost cutting the primitive world into 2 halves. A part of Divine Lotus Empress clothes was cut off and fell into the depths of the Star River. Not long after, it turned into a lotus leaf and disappeared in the endless Star River. Xiao. Divine Lotus Empress' speed was unparalleled. She channeled the source of her Tao and launched countless attacks at Yi Qinghan. The 2 sides engaged in a fierce battle. Wherever they went, the sky cracked and the earth cracked. The dead stars exploded one after another. The shock waves swept across Divine Lotus Empress and turned Divine Lotus Empress into nothingness. The sound of the zither was still vast and majestic, incomparably solemn and stirring, as if it came from the underworld, causing people to shudder. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi teamed up and fought across time and space. However, they were only able to fight evenly with Divine Lotus Empress. This woman was monstrous to the extreme. Dominating. Crazy. Seal. Defy. Fight. Deity. Saint. Life. Destruction. Suppression. Yi Qinghan turned the saber into a spear, shooting out 9 rays of light in a row. Within the light rays, there were 9 giant words that broke through the shackles of time and space. They were even more ferocious than divine weapons as they struck towards Divine Lotus Empress. 9 arrows as one. Emperor Yi used up all of his energy and shot out his strongest 9 arrows. In an instant, they merged into one and turned into a sky-splitting divine arrow. It pierced through the sky and chased after Divine Lotus Empress. Boom boom boom. Divine Lotus Empress used her own body to fight against Yi Qinghan. She managed to block the battle symbol formula. The 2 of them were evenly matched, but Yi Qinghan's attack was extremely fast. It pierced through the heavenly lotus in an instant. Ah! Divine Lotus Empress screamed in pain and fell backward. The Tao of Reincarnation emerged from the Divine Lotus and tried to take away Yi Qinghan, and Emperor Yi again. Yi Qinghan raised his saber. He couldn't be merciful at this moment. If he didn't kill this woman, she would be a threat in the future. Chapter 480. Boom. The saber slashed out and collided with the Tao of Reincarnation unleashed by the lotus. Even the stars were swallowed. Divine Lotus Empress was shocked. She waved her hand and summoned the lotus back. In a flash, she appeared in the center of the imperial domain. Yi Qinghan used stellar transposition and controlled the elements of the 5 elements to imprison one area. He was afraid that Divine Lotus Empress would kill the insane sect. As soon as they entered the imperial domain, Yi Qinghan became more cautious. After all, the imperial domain had become stronger again after so many years of development. Most of the creatures there were on good terms with Yi Qinghan. Divine Lotus Empress smirked. She had found Yi Qinghan's weakness, so she stood in the distance and stopped attacking. Yi Qinghan, do you think the imperial domain will still exist after we fight? How many of them can escape? Divine Lotus Empress asked coldly. None. Yi Qinghan stood in front of the insane sect and said majestically, "It's good that you understand. Since you've entered the reincarnation cycle, then reincarnate and leave your body to me." Divine Lotus Empress threatened. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists. He wasn't as stupid as he was in the past. He had to control his own fate. Do you think that's possible? The reincarnation cycle can't stop me. If you dare to attack me in the imperial domain, then wait for me to come back and crush every bone in your body." Yi Qinghan shouted coldly. "Is that so? Then I'd like to see if you can do that." Divine Lotus Empress replied coldly. Yi Qinghan's pupils contracted and he clenched his fists. "Divine Lotus Empress, you're just doing this for faith. Why do you have to be so ruthless? With your personality, you must have been instigated by someone else." Emperor Yi frowned and said, "I just want to condense the godhood. You've already entered the reincarnation cycle, and yet you still want to fight for my faith. Am I being ruthless or are you?" Divine Lotus Empress retorted, "The endless dynasty was built by our master and countless heroes. If the creatures are willing to believe in our master, then it means that they acknowledge our master. If you want the power of faith to condense the godhood, then why don't you do something for them and make them believe in you willingly? I don't think you can get that much faith by killing our master." Emperor Yi reminded her. Yi Qinghan said with a hoarse voice, "Divine Lotus, I can give you a chance. For 100 years, the insane sect will not interfere with the endless plains. If you can take the faith away from them, then I'll give you the endless plains. The day I return will be the day I take the insane sect away from the endless plains. But you can't hurt them, and you can't force them to do anything. If someone from the insane sect proves their way, then you can't interfere." Divine Lotus Empress hesitated. She felt that leaving Yi Qinghan and the insane sect in the endless plains would be a disaster. But she couldn't kill Yi Qinghan right now, and if she attacked the insane sect, then she would only anger Yi Qinghan. "Okay, 100 years is enough. If I can't conquer the endless plains, then I'll leave and go to the middle plains." Divine Lotus Empress gritted her teeth. There were too many taboos in a battle between great emperors, and they couldn't fight with their full strength, especially in this small plain. Plus, Yi Qinghan and Divine Lotus Empress were too strong, and they could easily destroy the endless plains. Yi Qinghan couldn't kill Divine Lotus, so he had to back off. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took the insane sect and his old friends into Owl War Planet. He left the endless plains to Divine Lotus Empress, and the endless plains entered the Divine Lotus era. Di Shang didn't leave. He was still guarding the ancient massacre god. As long as the ancient massacre god was still there, he wouldn't leave. If the ancient massacre god fell, then he would die. This was his mission. Di Longtian was taken away by Yi Qinghan, and Owl War Planet became the only territory in the endless plains that belonged to Yi Qinghan. Divine Lotus Empress and her followers couldn't enter Owl War Planet. As long as the insane sect didn't leave Owl War Planet, no one could break this agreement. As soon as he entered Owl War Planet, Yi Qinghan's body fell into a coma. His soul left again without leaving behind a word. The endless plains entered a dark period. The lightning snake was extremely smart. It had curried favor with Divine Lotus Empress and left all the worldly matters to him. Divine Lotus Empress began to recruit followers. In order to protect themselves, countless super first-rate experts had no choice but to follow her. They began to control the endless plains for her. All news about Yi Qinghan was strictly forbidden, and no one was allowed to place Yi Qinghan's longevity tablet in their family. Those who violated this rule would be killed. All the super first-rate experts who wanted to reach the Dao validation realm went into hiding, hoping to break through the shackles and successfully reach the Dao validation realm. For example, Qinyang Zhe, Qin Yifeng, and the others. 9 Serenity's realm, the 6th level of the main city, inside an inn. Yi Qinghan and Ren Huangye's souls became one, blending with each other. It had been a long time since they had performed dual cultivation. The two of them fiercely responded to each other. Yi Qinghan collided violently. Ren Huangye's perfect soul was flawless as it tightly wrapped around Yi Qinghan. The two souls were quickly leveling up. Emperor Ye's soul was improving rapidly, approaching the Great Emperor realm. The pleasure made her tighten her grip on Yi Qinghan. After a long time, the two fell asleep in each other's arms. The Divine Bird and Li Shang were still cutting stones. After a day and a night, they managed to cut out many things, but none of them were valuable. The next day, Emperor Yi took the initiative to entangle Yi Qinghan. He grinned and whispered to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan recalled yesterday's madness and became excited. This kind of soul fusion not only allowed the soul to level up quickly, but also gave him a different kind of pleasure. Immediately he raised his spear and rushed into Emperor Ye's body. Their moans echoed in the room. Emperor Yi was not shy at all. He even took the initiative to let Yi Qinghan fly into the sky happily. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi only walked out of the room at noon. Their souls were close to the Great Emperor realm. They could trigger the Great Emperor Tribulation at any time. After the baptism of the Lightning Tribulation, they would quickly enter the Great Emperor realm. Emperor Ye's face was flushed red, and his heart was filled with satisfaction. When Li Shang saw their flushed faces, she immediately knew what they had done. Her face was flushed red. Cough cough. Let's go to the main city and find Emperor Ye's opportunity. Then, we can enter the 7th level. Yi Qinghan smiled and said, the divine bird couldn't cut anything good. In the end, it smashed the pile of valuable divine stones into rubble. Then, it ran back to Yi Qinghan's shoulder in satisfaction and said, those stone gamblers are a bunch of lunatics. They work hard but don't gain anything. There's no way they can cut anything good. If the divine bird's words were heard by those stone gamblers, they would definitely be furious. These people had cut out Tianshui yesterday, and with Emperor Ye's bracelet, they still said that they could not cut out anything good. Wouldn't they be committing suicide? The three of them entered the main city with the star-twining vine. This place was vast and boundless. Many experts came and went. It was like a big city in the human world. The young master and princess were domineering. Many people avoided them. Yi Qinghan smiled and walked to the side, looking for the so-called opportunity. My son cultivates the Tao of the zither. The opportunity should be related to the zither or a zither song. Maybe I should find someone to ask about the zither. Yi Qinghan lowered his head and muttered to himself. Ouch! A hurried scream woke Yi Qinghan up. He raised his head and saw a young man lying next to Li Shang. There was a bloody hole in his shoulder. He had been injured by the star-entwining vine on Emperor Ye's shoulder. The star-entwining vine had almost sucked him dry in an instant. Li Shang hurriedly retreated and hid behind Emperor Yi. Her face was full of panic. You're courting death. How dare you hurt someone? Men, take them down. Two powerful middle-aged men appeared behind the young man. They were both half-step sovereigns. They were far stronger than the great emperors. They were even stronger than the strongest of the younger generation. Hua Chengkong and Lai Yan. Young master, are you all right? A group of ghost slaves hurriedly came over, but most of them surrounded Yi Qinghan, and the other two. Are you all dead? Didn't you see that I was almost killed by the vine? Arrest them for me. Capture them all and bring them back. The young man roared, but his eyes were fixed on Emperor Yi and Li Shang. Yi Qinghan frowned. Where did this guy come from? He had so many powerful guards, but his strength was only average. Moreover, he was so domineering. The surrounding ghost spirits all fled in panic, afraid that the young man would get angry and implicate them. Whoosh! A large group of emperor-level ghost spirits rushed towards Ren Huangyi. However, she gently shook her bracelet, and the bell emitted a soul-enchanting sound. The emperor-level powerhouses immediately fell into an illusion and fell to the ground in confusion. What's going on? Yi Qinghan frowned and asked. He still thought that the star-twining vine had deliberately hurt them because it was hungry. This little bastard actually wanted to touch Sister Li Shang's chest. The star-twining vine injured him. Emperor Yi said angrily. This guy really doesn't know what's good for him. How dare he touch a tiger's butt? The divine bird looked at the young man disdainfully and sneered coldly. Star-twining vine? You're Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi? The old man behind the young man's pupils shrank as he asked in a low voice. Yi Qinghan sized up the two old men behind him, and a murderous look flashed across his eyes. He coldly reprimanded. Take this good-for-nothing and get lost. If I see you again, I guarantee that none of you will live to see tomorrow's sun. Oh my, you're the first one who dares to speak to me like this. The young man's face was pale. He had already lost a lot of yang qi due to his indulgent lifestyle. Now that the star-twining vine had taken away some of his yang qi, this guy didn't have much time left. Is your father an overlord of the 9 underworlds? Why is he so scary? Yi Qinghan sneered and asked coldly. My father has many overlords of the 9 underworlds, but he's the overlord of the 7th level. You lowly bitch, how dare you use your slave to hurt me? I'll teach you a lesson. The young man's murderous look immediately changed his attitude. He stared at Li Shang and smiled evilly. As long as you give this empress to me, I'll spare you. Or else what? Yi Qinghan suppressed his anger and asked calmly. Or else I'll make you stop at the 6th level. Forget about fighting for a title, I'll make sure you can't leave this city. You don't know, but the city lord of this city is my second uncle. The governor of the Yin soldiers is also my uncle. If I want to torture you, I don't even need to go to the 7th level, the young man said arrogantly. Someone from the Lai family? Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows. Lai Yin seemed to be the son of the city lord. The Lai family was huge, stretching from the 6th level to the 9th level. There were countless experts. Now you're scared. The young man looked down at Yi Qinghan arrogantly. Li Shang looked at Yi Qinghan in horror, afraid that he would be pressured into handing her over to this perverted piece of trash. This young man looked very young, but he was actually older than Lai Yin. The only thing he had done in his life was to abuse female cultivators, especially great emperors who had proven their Tao with divine flowers. Chapter 481. Li Shang looked at Yi Qinghan helplessly. Yi Qinghan sneered. He looked at the youth as if he was looking at an idiot. He really couldn't understand why cultivators were sometimes even more stupid than mortals. The youth was called Lai Kuang. He was used to being arrogant. Sometimes, even Lai Yin was convinced by him. To outsiders, she always claimed that she didn't recognize him as her brother. The 2 half-step emperors behind Lai Kuang whispered into his ear, "Young master, it's best not to provoke this person. He doesn't give face to anyone. He even dares to provoke the Divine Void clan and the Sky God. Should we retreat?" He doesn't give face? I won't give face either. I can pinch 2 emperor-ranked powerhouses to death. What are you afraid of? Capture them for me, Lai Kuang said coldly. Slap. A loud slap resounded through the street, causing Lai Kuang to spin a few times. His face immediately swelled up and he saw stars. He didn't react for a long time. Yi Qinghan's speed was extremely fast, as if he hadn't moved at all. The 2 half-step emperors' faces were ashen, but they didn't dare to offend Yi Qinghan. You have 3 breaths of time to disappear from my sight, Yi Qinghan said coldly. Whoosh! The 2 half-step emperors rushed into the distance, not daring to say a single word. When dealing with such a despicable person, reasoning wouldn't work. Yi Qinghan deeply understood that he had to use his fists to beat them until they didn't dare to make a sound. Otherwise, it would be useless no matter what he said. The 2 of them went deep into the city to inquire about the Zither Master, but they didn't make much progress. They searched for 2 days in a row, running all over the main city. Unfortunately, the so-called opportunity was illusory and couldn't be found. On the 3rd day, the 3 of them had already entered the depths of the city. Emperor Ye's brows suddenly twitched, and he involuntarily walked toward a remote courtyard. Hum hum hum. A tune drifted through the air, but Yi Qinghan and the others could not hear it. Emperor Yi, on the other hand, could hear it. The music showed the endless galaxy. The king was free and unfettered between heaven and earth, plucking the stars with a wave of his hand, chasing after the sun and moon. The man laughed proudly between heaven and earth, reversing yin and yang, breaking through the cycle of reincarnation. Sometimes it was brisk, sometimes it was tragic, sometimes it was carefree, and sometimes it was crazy. Everything depended on one's state of mind. Emperor Ye's eyes were in a daze as his soul was taken away by the music. Yi Qinghan and the others silently followed behind. They didn't stop him until they arrived outside the courtyard at the foot of the mountain. The lake was as calm as a mirror, and the water was so clear that one could see the bottom. The green willows on both sides of the lake gently caressed their faces. A gentle breeze caused ripples to appear on the lake. It was a magnificent sight. The surroundings were extremely quiet. In the middle of the lake, there was a courtyard that had been erected out of thin air. A winding path made of small wooden stakes led to the courtyard. To be able to cultivate here, one must be a person of refined leisure. Just this state of mind alone was something that many people could not hope to achieve. Even Yi Qinghan admitted that he was inferior. Emperor Yi stepped onto the small wooden bridge and arrived outside the courtyard. The music stopped abruptly. A white-haired man dressed in white slowly pushed open the door and looked at Emperor Yi in surprise. His spirit was burning, and the deep light in his eyes was restrained. He was wise but not obvious, powerful but not obvious. He was like an old farmer. He clearly didn't expect a little girl to come to his door. And from her expression, she had heard the music. Others didn't know, but he knew. To be able to hear his music, one had to be a person with an extremely pure soul, an infant, or someone whose understanding of the Tao of the Zither had reached the peak. "Miss, what brings you to this old man's courtyard?" the old man asked with a smile. "I came to listen to your music. Senior's carefree tune is shocking enough, but I have never heard it before. So I came to take a look out of curiosity. I hope you won't take offense for disturbing Senior's mood." Emperor Yi bowed deeply, his white hair falling down. The old man's face was full of curiosity. He didn't expect Emperor Yi to be able to understand the true meaning of carefree tune at such a young age. "Oh, you can understand the true meaning of the music?" the old man asked. Emperor Yi bowed again and replied, "I know a little, but my state of mind is far from yours. I beg Senior to teach me." "So the three of you are guests. Please come in." The old man stroked his beard and said indifferently, "This old man has always cultivated in seclusion. Very few people disturb me here. This is the first guest in thousands of years. Meeting is fate. Let this old man properly entertain you." Yi Qinghan sized up the old man. He must have been a handsome man when he was young. He understood that since this old man could cultivate here for thousands of years without coming out, his state of mind must be far beyond that of ordinary experts. This person must be more than a venerable sovereign. He said respectfully, "This junior has disturbed you. Please forgive us, Senior." It's been many years since I've seen such young talents like you. Your battle prowess is not bad. It seems that you have the potential to be titled." The old man nodded in satisfaction and returned to the courtyard first. The courtyard was very large and was filled with lotus flowers. The fragrance of the flowers filled the air. There were a few simple stone benches and a stone table. These were all the furniture and decorations in the courtyard. A guqin was placed on the stone table. It was very old, so old that one couldn't tell its age. Every edge and corner was carved with endless years, and they were all about to be worn down. "Please sit." The old man waved his sleeve, and the dust on the stone chair was swept away. Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan were not surprised by honor or disgrace. They were neither servile nor overbearing. Only Li Shang was slightly more reserved. The elder looked at the two of them and was very satisfied. He liked to be free and unfettered. He did not like too many restrictions. Thus, the song was filled with yearning for the endless mountains and rivers. It was all about being free and unfettered. Ren Huangyi understood this elder. Thus, even though he was respectful, he would definitely not be pretentious. "Miss, can you play a song?" the old man said indifferently. "Then this junior will embarrass myself." Emperor Yi summoned the human emperor's guqin. Before she could play, the old man interrupted her. "Use the guqin on the table," the old man whispered. Although he seemed casual, his voice was filled with determination. Emperor Yi was stunned. He put away the human emperor's guqin and sat in front of it. He gently tested the sound and realized that the strings were extremely difficult to control. It was almost the opposite of the person's. Those with an unstable state of mind would find it difficult to control the guqin. Yi Qinghan was not surprised that Emperor Ye's understanding of the guqin was definitely the best. But now he couldn't even control the guqin. This guqin and the old man's background was probably not simple. "Miss, take your time. Don't be anxious." The old man smiled and said kindly. Emperor Yi calmed down. This old man was testing his state of mind. He walked the path of a free and unfettered state of mind. This guqin was probably the same. If he wanted to control the guqin, it was better to follow the guqin. Ring, a crisp sound reverberated. The white hair fluttered as if it was bathed in divine light. It made one's soul throb. Yi Qinghan and Li Shang didn't understand what this sound meant. But the old man was extremely surprised. He didn't expect Emperor Yi to be so smart. He understood the true meaning of the guqin so quickly. 10 fingers gently strummed the guqin. His soul sensed the vibrations of the strings. The guqin brought Emperor Yi into the free and unfettered world. The guqin was free and unfettered. When Yi Qinghan heard this song for the first time, he was deeply mesmerized. This kind of free and unfettered life was the life that every real man loved. They could freely repay their debts of gratitude and revenge. Didn't people cultivate in defiance of the heavens because they wanted to be free and unfettered? Emperor Yi quickly became one with the guqin. He played the free and unfettered tune over and over again. The Tao of freedom covered the sky. It shone with golden light, shocking the past and present. The 3 overlords on the 17th floor were shocked and walked out of their rooms. It's the God of freedom. She actually met the God of freedom. The opportunity we gave her was not this. The Shura overlord said in shock. This is her true opportunity. The opportunity we gave her is nothing. The Xitigarbha overlord said solemnly. What should we do? Are we going to steal the God of freedom's disciple? The 9 underworlds overlord was unwilling. A genius like Emperor Yi must become an intermediate god. Perhaps he might even have the chance to become a high god. If he could take in such a disciple, he would be able to retire with success. He would become a supreme ruler. The god monarch was also the god of freedom in their mouths. He was only one step away from becoming a high god. Moreover, that was a matter of more than 100,000 years ago. Who knew how powerful he was now? He could ignore reincarnation and travel through the various middle planes. He was the most free and unfettered person in this world, a legend. He had lived for 1,000,000 years. Even the 9 underworlds overlord had to call him Tao friend. Many people in the 9 underworlds had heard of his legend. There were also many who didn't know of his existence. In the past 100,000 years, many had forgotten about his existence. However, the 3 overlords would never forget. Let nature take its course for now. Who knows, maybe he doesn't want to take in a disciple at all. The 9 underworlds overlord said seriously. At this moment, many experts were discussing the god monarch. Apart from those above the 16th level, no one could recognize him. Thus, they were all at a loss at this moment. For the entire morning, Emperor Yi played the unfettered Tan. He became more familiar with it and his understanding of the Tao of freedom deepened. His control of the zither also became stronger. He could control the zither on his own accord and play a complete song. At noon the old man yawned and said faintly, "This old man is tired. You guys can go back now." Emperor Yi stood up and said respectfully, "Thank you, senior, for your guidance. I didn't teach you anything. I only taught you this zither." The old man smiled. With a wave of his hand, a zither score appeared. He handed it to Emperor Yi and said indifferently, "It's fate that brought us together. This is the heavenly command. Take it back and fiddle with it. If you're smart enough, you should be able to learn it. If you can't, then you're too stupid." After the old man finished speaking, he waved his hand and sent Emperor Yi, Yi Qinghan, and the rest out of the small residence. Yi Qinghan had never felt so powerless. He couldn't resist the old man's wave of his hand, and was sent out of the small residence. If the old man wanted to kill someone, he would definitely be killed in an instant. This should be your opportunity. Let's go out of the city and wait for the examinees. Yi Qinghan was very confident. To be able to meet such an old man and learn the unfettered Tan was definitely Emperor Ye's opportunity. At this moment, the old man was waiting in an ancient grocery store for Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi to come and take away their opportunity. However, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had already run out of the city and were waiting for the old man to appear. After a long time, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi still didn't see the old man. They couldn't help but look at each other. Chapter 482. Outside the city, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were still waiting. Clearly, they couldn't accept that meeting such a zither expert wasn't Emperor Ye's fortuitous encounter. The old man received a notification from the higher-ups in the depths that they had passed the 6th floor. Only then did he understand why Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi hadn't appeared here. He hurriedly rushed outside the city and curiously looked at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. He asked, "What did you obtain on the 6th floor?" Why didn't you obtain the fortuitous encounter that was set? Yi Qinghan shrugged. He couldn't say for sure. He didn't know that old man, but he was definitely a god priest. Now he had a certain understanding of god priests. Their strength wasn't something that great emperors or emperors could compare to. They could easily kill emperors. In the end, the four of them appeared on the 7th floor. This floor's requirements seemed relatively simple, but it was extremely dangerous. You just need to pass through the entire 7th floor, enter the 8th floor, and go all the way to the 9th floor. Once you complete the 9th floor's overlord mission, you'll receive a title. After that, there's nothing for me to do. I won't provide you with any advice or help, the old man said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan touched the tip of his nose and frowned. What if I want to go deeper and enter the 18th floor? Don't the higher-ups in the depths restrict god priests? God priests weren't something he could contend with. After the 10th floor, there were many god priests. If they weren't restricted, they would definitely be chased and intercepted by god priests. When that happened, they probably wouldn't even be able to pass the 1st floor. If you want to enter the 18th floor, it will depend on your fortuitous encounter. If you can obtain a title, the higher-ups on the 16th and 17th floors might summon you. At that time, you won't even need to leave. Someone will come and pick you up, the old man said indifferently. However, it's not as simple as you think, so don't get your hopes up. Back then, there were also titled great emperors who weren't valued highly. After joining a great force, they still had to constantly complete missions to earn contribution points, and exchange them for treasures in order to break through to the emperor realm. In the end, they might not even have enough contribution points to exchange for a godhead even after they died of old age. Gui Nu shook his head and said. Yi Qinghan nodded. Almighty god priests wouldn't care about great emperors at all. Titled great emperors weren't necessarily worthy of their attention either. Only a true super-existence with the bearing of a great emperor would be able to kill a venerable sovereign. Only such an existence would attract the attention of almighty gods. However, your fortuitous encounter is not shallow. To be able to alarm an overlord and request to open the Eye of 9 underworlds to watch you along the way, it shows that they care a lot about you. Moreover, your combat strength and luck are extraordinary. I believe that you will be summoned by the god priests and be accepted as outer disciples. At that time, you will soar to the sky. The old man's face was filled with envy as he disappeared into the sky. Yi Qinghan and the other two sped through the wilderness. Yi Qinghan was thinking in his heart. If he wanted to enter the deeper levels and gain the favor of the god priests, he had to display his strongest combat strength. The stronger he displayed, the easier it would be to alarm the overlords in the deeper levels. However, what Yi Qinghan wanted wasn't the overlords, but the Lord of 9 underworlds on the 18th floor, the god priests. Let's strive to break through to the great emperor realm before entering the 9th floor. Yi Qinghan glanced at Emperor Yi and prepared to charge through the 7th and 8th floors forcefully. He had to charge through at all costs, even if he had to offend all the experts on both floors. He had to use the pressure to enter the great emperor realm. On the 7th floor of the Lai family, Lai Kuang held in grief and asked the Lai family to avenge him. As the favorite grandson of the Lai family's old master, his words carried a lot of weight. No one wanted to alarm the old master, so they could only listen to Lai Kuang and send out a large number of Yin soldiers to pursue Yi Qinghan. They even sent out martial emperors. Yi Qinghan was constantly being watched by the Eye of 9 underworlds, so he had no chance to hide even if he wanted to. Huge armies rushed over from all directions. With the guidance of the Eye of 9 underworlds, they moved quickly, accurately, and ruthlessly. Yi Qinghan also knew that he couldn't hide, so he joined forces with Emperor Yi and pushed forward. Wherever they passed, blood flowed and souls wailed. With Yi Qinghan as the center, no one could get within 1,000 meters of him. Every member of the Lai family's blazing inferno army was no weaker than a boundary emperor. There were more than 30,000 of them, and they were charging into the battlefield regardless of the cost. Yi Qinghan was bathed in a river of blood. The Yin soldiers in front of him were endless, but they were still pushed forward by him for millions of kilometers. Li Shang almost couldn't keep up with his killing speed. Killing one was a crime, but killing 10,000 was a hero. Yi Qinghan's madness shocked the powerful experts. Yi Qinghan was completely emotionless. He killed people as easily as raising his hand and waving his blade. It was as if he wasn't killing his own kind, but a group of ants. This child will either become a god or a demon. The powerful experts in the depths gave the most pertinent answer. Yi Qinghan killed without batting an eye, and this stunned them. Even the gods began to fear him. 10 days later, the three of them had pushed hundreds of millions of kilometers. Li Shang vomited blood, and countless amounts of blood turned into a sea of blood. All the forces on the 7th floor had received the secret agreement from the depths and joined the battle. Whoever killed Yi Qinghan would obtain a divine spark. This was a terrifying piece of news. The experts on the 8th and 9th floors moved out one after another. Even the experts on the 6th floor rushed to the 7th floor. The venerable sovereigns began to surround Yi Qinghan. Some people were afraid of Yi Qinghan, including the gods. If such a person became a god, he would definitely be able to sweep away all the experts on the 18th floor of the 9 underworlds. The 3 overlords frowned. They didn't know who had issued the kill order, but they actually used a divine spark to attract the venerable sovereigns. Wasn't this the same as asking for the lives of Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi? Killing Yi Qinghan wasn't a big deal. His talent wasn't the best, and he had a ruthless and vicious personality. He was extremely protective of his family and friends, but he was extremely merciless to strangers and enemies. Even great perfection-level medium god priests like them were wary of such an existence, let alone some lesser god priests. The overlords of the 9 underworlds were just about to take action and stop the slaughter, but they were suppressed by an aura. On the 18th floor, the pair of eyes opened slightly. With just one eye, it suppressed the middle god priests, and the overlords of the 9 underworlds didn't dare to move. "Greetings, Master." The 3 overlords were shocked. They didn't expect the 9 underworlds lord to appear again after so many years. And don't interfere with Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's test. If they have a chance to reach the 9th floor alive and obtain a title, bring them to me. A deep voice came from the deepest part of the 18th floor. It was incomparably majestic. The 3 overlords were shocked. They didn't expect the real examiner this time to be the 9 underworlds lord, the only higher god priest in the 9 underworlds. "Yes, Master," the 3 overlords replied respectfully. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were extremely arrogant. They pushed forward without any intention of dodging. Even if they faced the venerable sovereigns, they had to face them head-on. Although they were covered in injuries, they still displayed their martial arts to the peak. Both of them were half a step into the Great Emperor realm, and could summon the Great Emperor Tribulation at any time. They just lacked that pressure. "Let's increase the pressure." Yi Qinghan roared hoarsely and fought together with Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi stood on Yi Qinghan's shoulder and plucked the zither with his fingers. The bracelet on his wrist let out a crisp sound. It was no longer melodious but soul-stealing. Boom. The sound of the zither exploded. The high-pitched sound was ear-piercing and pierced through the galaxy. It directly crushed the souls of the experts below the Great Emperor realm. Every time Emperor Yi unleashed his power, countless Yin soldiers would fall. The 3 experts of the Raging Inferno army were killed until only a little more than 10,000 remained. It was an extremely tragic scene. The Lai family was even more furious. They sent out all the venerable sovereigns to surround Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. The most delightful one was the star-twining vine. After devouring countless living beings, it had evolved to the 4th level. Its main body could extend tens of thousands of green vines. They were as fast as lightning and could instantly penetrate a great emperor's body. It forcefully robbed the Yin soldiers of their vitality. Half of the Raging Inferno army died under its vines. After its advancement, it was so hungry that it went crazy. It ate everything it saw. It was still rational, and did not harm Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan. Otherwise, their situation would have been even more terrible. In the end, the Yin soldiers were terrified and frantically retreated. They did not want to face Yi Qinghan directly, and they did not want to be scapegoats. The venerable sovereigns stood at the back, waiting for Yi Qinghan to be exhausted, so that they could reap the benefits. Now that their plan had failed, they could not force the Yin soldiers and the powerful private army of the Lai family to exhaust Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was extremely exhausted, but he was still stuck in the Great Emperor realm. He glared coldly at the dozen venerable sovereigns and clenched his fists. He wished that his main body could appear in the reincarnation realm, so that he could kill a venerable sovereign with one punch. Since you're all here, let's fight together. Yi Qinghan's aura soared. He wanted to force himself to become a great emperor and summon the thunder tribulation. Boom. Yi Qinghan soared into the sky and killed his way into the enemy's group. He scattered the joint forces of the heroes and used wind mark. He quickly approached a venerable sovereign and pretended to slash at him. No one thought that Yi Qinghan still had the ability to kill others, so they gave up on defense and attacked him from behind. However, a golden light suddenly rushed out from Yi Qinghan's body. The colorful snake caught the venerable sovereign off guard and directly pierced his soul. The venerable sovereign screamed in pain. Yi Qinghan turned around and slashed out with his saber. The crowd was caught off guard. None of them had expected him to switch moves so quickly. Without any defense, the saber slashed across the venerable sovereign's body. The venerable sovereign's body was torn to pieces and was quickly swallowed by the star-twisting vine. Hum! A piercing high-pitched sound pierced the eardrums of the heroes. Emperor Yi almost broke the strings of the Renhuang Guqin and blocked the attack of another venerable sovereign. However, there were too many venerable sovereigns. He could stop one, but he could not stop the second. Boom! A powerful venerable sovereign's fist landed on Yi Qinghan's back. Yi Qinghan's consciousness went blank for a moment. He fell hundreds of miles and crashed into the group of Yin soldiers behind him. The Yin soldiers were like birds startled by the twang of a bow. Instead of attacking, they turned around and fled, giving Yi Qinghan time to react. Yi Qinghan spat out a mouthful of blood essence. Emperor Yi stood in front of him, and an indiscriminate attack shattered the Milky Way as it charged towards the heroes. Die! The venerable sovereigns did not attack Li Shang. They all surrounded Yi Qinghan. Their emperor power poured out and instantly enveloped Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. The danger of death enveloped the two. The terrifying pressure crushed their bodies and sent their flesh flying. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi roared at the same time. The great sovereign realm descended and the thunder tribulation suddenly appeared. Dark clouds covered the sky and almost destroyed the 7th level. The star-twisting vine was frightened and ran to Li Shang's shoulder. Chapter 483. The 7th level was engulfed by a sea of lightning. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi displayed their supreme arrogance. They turned into two war sovereigns and charged at the enemies. With lightning in their hands, they swept through the enemies. The Yin soldiers fled frantically. The raging inferno army was wiped out. The tribulation of the great emperors was invincible. Even the venerable sovereigns were affected. They fled frantically, not daring to fight Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi separated. They allowed the tribulation of lightning to wreak havoc, but they still charged at the enemies. Boom! Whoosh! Lightning tore through flesh and souls. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Tens of thousands of souls howled in grief. Li Shang took the star-twisting vine and the divine bird and fled to the periphery. The experts who surrounded the periphery were all devoured by the star-twisting vine. The 4th level evolution made it extremely powerful, but it also ate its fill. The divine bird looked at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi's backs. It trembled and muttered, "These two lunatics have proven their Tao. They won't have a good life in the future. This divine bird is going to be suppressed for life." With a shrill scream, a venerable sovereign was caught by Yi Qinghan. He was struck by countless lightning bolts and died on the spot. Emperor Yi entangled dozens of great emperors. His high-pitched, ear-piercing voice pierced the experts' eardrums and suppressed their vitality. The area within a radius of 10,000 miles became their domain. Even the venerable sovereigns couldn't resist the tribulation of lightning. They were suppressed by at least 50%. With Emperor Yi's suppression, it was 20 to 30%. They could only use 20% of their combat strength. The battle became one-sided. The aura of death filled the air. The 7th level became hell within hell. Flames and rain of blood coexisted. The 9 underworlds was a cruel place. However, today's devastation was the worst in tens of thousands of years. Even the venerable sovereigns were disgusted. They were too arrogant. The two of them together swept through the first level of the 9 underworlds and sent the experts fleeing in panic. Yi Qinghan kept smashing corpses to the periphery. They were all eaten by the star-twisting vine. The star-twisting vine suddenly felt that following Yi Qinghan was more reliable than following its companion, the divine bird. At least it wouldn't starve if it followed Yi Qinghan. It could eat until it was full. The start-whining vine grew even stronger. Its vines stretched out for hundreds of miles, but it didn't dare to go too deep into the lightning. The moment the vines came into contact with the lightning, they would be pierced through. It was so painful that it twitched its vines like a divine whip. Xiao. The star-twisting vines of tens of thousands of vines erupted. Tens of thousands of vines were tens of thousands of them all at the same time. Of vines of tens of thousands of vines of them. The brightly colored snake was charred on the outside and tender on the inside after being struck by the lightning. In the end, it had no choice but to frantically escape. It was in such a sorry state that the divine bird laughed at it. An hour later, except for the main city, everyone on the 7th level had fled. The venerable sovereigns fled to the 8th level while the weaker ones fled to the 6th level. The 7th level was empty. The Lai family was shocked. The old master of the Lai family came out of seclusion with a long spear in his hand. He pierced through the void and charged toward Yi Qinghan. The old master of the Lai family was indeed powerful. He was one of the best among the venerable sovereigns. He wasn't close to the lightning tribulation and wasn't suppressed. He attacked Yi Qinghan from afar. Yi Qinghan's speed was immediately suppressed. Boom! The shadow of the long spear streaked past Yi Qinghan like a rainbow. Yi Qinghan was covered in blood. Half of it was the enemy's and the other half was his. He dodged the old master's attack and turned to look at him coldly. A cold light pierced through the void. His lips curled into a cold smile as he charged toward the Lai family with lightning. Hua hua hua. The lightning and the old master's long spear collided. The void collapsed and the earth cracked. The impact spread to the periphery of the Lai family and the city collapsed. Boom. The outer city walls were shattered by the aftermath. Countless living beings of the Lai family screamed and fled like crazy. The Lai family was finished. Yi Qinghan was crazy and powerful. He turned into a war monarch and stood proudly. He didn't care about the venerable sovereigns at all. The old master of the Lai family was shocked and scolded angrily. Junior, you've gone too far. You're wreaking havoc on the 7th level. Do you think there's no one on the 7th level? A bunch of ghosts. You can't blame me for this. If you want to blame someone, blame it on the Lai family for not teaching their children well. Boom. Yi Qinghan summoned the heavy crazed monarch weapon and slashed at the old man. You're courting death. The old master of the Lai family mobilized his emperor qi and poured his true yuan into the spear. Boom. The rapid sound of the collision reverberated in all directions. The aftermath of the collision stirred up the earth. Within a radius of 10,000 miles, all living beings were killed by the impact. They died without a burial place. Half of the Lai family was destroyed in an instant. Inside the Lai family, Lai Kuang knew that he had kicked a hot iron. His eyes were filled with fear and hatred. He looked at the only remaining venerable sovereign in the family, hoping that he could help him escape. You unfilial son. It's all because of you that we provoked this lunatic. I'll kill you. The Lai family's elder, Lai Changyan, was extremely angry. He waved his hand and suppressed Lai Kuang. Lai Kuang didn't even know how he died. He was directly crushed by the Emperor Qi. Lai Kuang had already angered everyone. If it weren't for the old master of the Lai family, he would have been beaten to death. Now that Lai Changyan had killed Lai Kuang, no one panicked. Instead, they were even happier. Lai Changyan led the remaining elites and began to retreat. He hoped to leave the 7th level and wait for a chance to rise again. In the sky, Yi Qinghan and the old master were engaged in a fierce battle. Both of them exerted their peak strength and were extremely powerful. It was a battle of brute force. It was an earth-shattering battle. It was extremely terrifying. The old master of the Lai family had never seen such a crazy emperor sovereign. Moreover, he was in the middle of his tribulation. Lightning had suppressed Yi Qinghan's strength by at least 20%, but he was still able to fight against the old master. Boom. The lightning tribulation reached its maximum and engulfed the two of them. The old master was suppressed even more, and almost triggered the deity tribulation. He was so frightened that he quickly suppressed his strength and didn't dare to touch the forbidden area. Not everyone could survive the deity tribulation. For an old and weak existence like him, it was already good enough that he was barely hanging on. He didn't even think about going through the deity tribulation. The deity tribulation could instantly blast him into pieces. Open. Zhong Kuang had advanced and possessed supreme strength. He also had his own weapon spirit. He wanted to make a contribution, so he directly slashed at the old master's body. Saber rays shot out in all directions. Yi Qinghan didn't restrain Zhong Kuang anymore. Instead, he summoned a long spear. With a furious roar, he turned into lightning and transformed into countless shadows that pounced on the old master. Kill. Yi Qinghan's furious attack combined with his strength. This spear could at least kill an ordinary emperor sovereign. The older the old master was, the more afraid he was of death. At this moment, he didn't want to fight to the death. He only wanted to defend himself, and then find a chance to escape. As a result, he was increasingly suppressed by Yi Qinghan. The decaying emperor sovereign was no longer young. He didn't have the vigor and vitality of a fierce warrior. He only wanted to survive. At this moment, he had no chance to fight back. Hum hum hum, the shadow of the long spear restrained the old master of the Lai family. The real battle spear turned into a sky-piercing battle weapon and pierced through the old master's heart. Then Yi Qinghan sent the old master flying with a palm that covered the sky and kicked him. Yi Qinghan's strength was simply terrifying. The body of the emperor sovereign was almost torn apart by his kick. Boom boom boom. Yi Qinghan threw away the battle weapon. His physical body was his strongest combat strength. He punched the old master's body repeatedly. His knees, elbows, and fists all became killing weapons. The old master's flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Star-entangling vine catch. Yi Qinghan grabbed the old master's throat with one hand and suddenly pressed down. The power of destruction sealed the old master's vitality. With a violent swing, the old master was flung thousands of miles away. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Thousands of vines wrapped around the old master. The vines pierced through his body and madly devoured him. The old master's body twitched all over. His vitality were quickly draining away. He had no chance to struggle at all. I didn't teach my son well, the old master roared. His eyes were filled with grief and anger. Just before he died, he realized how wrong he had been to spoil Lai Kuang. The strongest person on the 7th floor died just like that. The emperors on the 8th and 9th floors suppressed the restlessness in their hearts and became much more obedient. The murderous intent in the Emperor of Feather's eyes grew stronger, but he also became better at hiding it. The 7th floor was empty. Everyone had fled. The lightning tribulation was also slowly weakening. The earth was ravaged and stretched for millions of miles. The central main city area was in ruins. Blood and bones were piled up like mountains. The star-entangling vine burped and threw down the pile of bones. It excitedly ran back to Li Shang's shoulder and fell into a deep sleep. Li Shang was no longer afraid of this monster. She felt a little safer with it on her shoulder. After Emperor Ye's soul was baptized by the lightning tribulation, it became even more powerful. Even a slight movement could lead the rhythm of heaven and earth. It was extremely pleasing to the ear. It was fundamentally different from the soul-snatching killing sound from before. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi swallowed a large number of treasures and quickly recovered from their injuries. Their combat strength increased exponentially. Everyone below the Great Emperor level was like an ant. Once they attained their Tao, their combat strength would be able to dominate the heavens. On the 8th floor, all the families recalled their experts who were training outside. They didn't dare to leave the city. They hoped that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi could leave quickly when they entered the 8th floor. On the 9th floor, the Emperor of Feathers murmured. He didn't know how to confer a title. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi's combat strength was no longer as simple as a title. After killing so many emperors, they definitely had the ability to become combat emperors. However, the title of combat emperor was not something he could confer. On the 17th floor, the 3 overlords were shocked. They finally understood why the 2 of them had alarmed the master of the 9 underworlds, the supreme superior god priest. As long as these two don't die prematurely, becoming a medium god priest is only a matter of time. The Shura overlord stared at Yi Qinghan. He was shocked by Yi Qinghan's madness, but he especially liked this kind of young man. The Tao of Azura was the Tao of killing. Yi Qinghan's killing intent was even stronger than a medium god priest like him. He could definitely inherit his legacy. Unfortunately, Yi Qinghan was chosen by the master of the 9 underworlds. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi spent 3 days and 2 nights. They successfully absorbed the essence of the great emperor realm and stabilized their realm. Their understanding of the origin of the great Tao reached the peak. They got up and brought Li Shang with them. They tore through time and space and entered the 8th floor. Even birds didn't want to appear on the 8th floor. Everyone was holed up in their nests. Wherever Yi Qinghan went, the place would tremble. None of the experts dared to make a sound. The 7th floor had killed them until they were terrified. Now that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had confirmed their Tao and joined forces, they could definitely kill emperors in an instant. Their titled combat emperors might even be 1 in 10,000. It would be considered good if one combat emperor appeared among 100,000 titled great emperors. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were 2 of them. Chapter 484. On the 8th floor, a man and 2 women walked toward the 9th floor, their clothes fluttering in the wind. Their black and white hair intertwined as they looked back. After Yi Qinghan left, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. In the past few years, such a scene had never happened on the 9th floor except when the gods descended. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had suppressed the 8th floor with their auras alone. This was the first time in hundreds of thousands of years that something like this had happened. The old monsters who had lived for countless years could only look at their backs from afar as they watched them leave. On the 9th floor, the Feather Emperor led a large group of venerable sovereigns to wait outside the city for Yi Qinghan's arrival. His face was full of smiles, and his killing intent was gone. Yi Qinghan was very fast. With Emperor Yi on his shoulder and Li Shang in his hand, he appeared on the 9th floor with a stellar transposition. The huge main city towered into the clouds. It was majestic and grand, and all kinds of laws coexisted. Yi Qinghan suddenly appeared outside the city. He saw so many venerable sovereigns. Most of them were middle-aged and vigorous. The old master of the Lai family couldn't be compared to them. Ha ha ha, Brother Yi has created a miracle. You fought on the 1st floor alone and suppressed the 8th floor until they didn't dare to speak. This old man admires you. The Feather Emperor cupped his fists and laughed. Yi Qinghan wore a faint smile. The 9 underworlds was the 9 underworlds. Killing people wasn't a crime. Strength was everything. No matter how many people he killed, as long as they were afraid, he would be the king. Yi Qinghan stared at the Feather Emperor. He knew that he was the strongest on the 9th floor, so he asked, "Greetings, Brother Yi. What's the mission on the 9th floor?" The Feather Emperor's mouth twitched. Yi Qinghan could already be conferred a title. Wouldn't he be looking for trouble if he continued to make things difficult for him? Brother, you've already completed the conferment mission. Now you're just waiting to see if the Almighty behind you will personally confer you the title of War Emperor. The Feather Emperor smiled. Please come in. Whether you can be conferred the title of War Emperor will depend on tomorrow. Yi Qinghan nodded and followed the Feather Emperor and the others into the city. The Feather Emperor had arranged for a palace and even held a celebratory feast for Yi Qinghan and the others. This could be considered as an expression of goodwill. Yi Qinghan's fist had won him respect. Countless forces came to visit and presented a large number of supreme treasures. Most of them were divine medicines that had been cultivated for tens of thousands of years. There were also some who presented divine weapon refinement materials. After all, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had just proven their Tao and lacked monarch weapons. Yi Qinghan did not stand on ceremony. These people were despicable. If he did not accept their gifts, they would think that he was looking down on them. This meal lasted for an entire day. Yi Qinghan greeted everyone and introduced them to each other. In the future, if they offended each other in any way, they could be on friendly terms. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi returned to the palace and began to recuperate from their fatigue. They comprehended their own secret techniques and comprehended the origin of the 5 elements Tao physique. Until the 2nd day, A figure descended. It was the Azura Overlord, the terrifying medium god priest. The moment he arrived on the 9th level, he alarmed everyone. The entire 9th level was under his control. The god priest was so powerful. His hair was as black as ink and he did not look old. He was at most 40 years old. He had the vicissitudes of life and was awe-inspiring. The Feather Emperor and all the other experts knelt down and bowed respectfully. The god priest was a rare sight. The medium god priest was one of the 3 overlords of the 9 underworlds. Many venerable sovereigns could not even be summoned in their entire lives. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi did not kneel. Instead, they bowed 90 degrees. This was the most respectful greeting. Li Shang did not dare to disobey. She prostrated herself on the ground and waited for the god priest to speak. The Azura Overlord was not angry because Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi did not kneel. Instead, he was even more satisfied. No one knew if Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi's status would surpass that of the 3 overlords. The Azura and the 9 underworlds were only outer disciples of the 9 underworlds master. They could not even be considered disciples. If Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were accepted as inner disciples and received the true teachings of the 9 underworlds master, the 3 overlords would have to bow to them. Rise, the Azura Overlord said indifferently. The experts slowly stood up and retreated to the side. They looked at Yi Qinghan with envy. It was only a battle monarch title, but it actually alarmed one of the 3 overlords. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi's fortune would surpass everything. Yi Qinghan, Emperor Yi, the 2 of you have completed the battle of titles. After discussing with the other 2 overlords, this old man will bestow upon Yi Qinghan the title of Mad Marshal, a battle monarch title, and Emperor Yi the title of Zither Empress, also a battle monarch title. I will bestow upon you 2 lesser godhoods, the Water Godhood and the Heavenly Soul Godhood. I will also pardon you for not kneeling before the gods, the Azura Overlord said in a low voice. The 9th floor was in an uproar. Bestowing a godhood upon a battle monarch title was simply unprecedented, especially the Heavenly Soul Godhood, which could strengthen one's soul by 10 times. Emperor Yi walked the path of the soul. With the godhood, no one below the priesthood could match him. The Feather Emperor's eyes were filled with shock and envy. He didn't even dare to show any hatred. He had worked so hard for the godhood, but to no avail. Now Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had just become great emperors, but they had already received 2 godhoods. It was simply infuriating. Suddenly, 2 items that looked like top-grade god crystals appeared in the Azura Overlord's hand. They were completely transparent. They contained an endless amount of energy. Once they self-destructed, they could definitely destroy any floor below the 9th floor. The godhood shone brightly and automatically appeared in front of Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Even if it was a reward, it wasn't up to them to choose. The Heavenly Soul Godhood appeared in front of Emperor Yi. This was her opportunity. Yi Qinghan received the Water Godhood. It was rich in water elements and was almost completely compatible with Yi Qinghan's 5 elemental Dao body. As long as his cultivation reached the peak of the Emperor realm, he could instantly become a priesthood god, the Water God priesthood. Everyone stared at the godhoods in Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi's hands. They couldn't wait to snatch them. As long as they had the godhood, they would have the opportunity to become a priesthood god and enjoy endless years. Their status would also rise along with it. Put them away. The Supreme 9 Remoteness Lord wants to see you. Follow me to the 18th floor. The Azura Overlord's eyes were full of reverence when he mentioned the 9 Remoteness Lord. They weren't on the same level. Becoming a priesthood god was like ascending to the heavens. Direct conflicts between priesthoods were especially serious, but it was only limited to those of the same level. Lesser priesthoods wouldn't dare to offend an intermediate priesthood god, even if they had 10 times the courage. Even the strongest lesser priesthood god would be like a mouse in front of a cat in front of the Azura Overlord. Yi Qinghan finally showed some emotion. He had risked his life to see the 9 Remoteness Lord, and he finally got his reward. Everyone was stunned. A Battle Emperor title had appeared in the past, but not even the Overlord had been alarmed, let alone the 9 Remoteness Lord. Before anyone could react, the Azura Overlord reached out and grabbed Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Even Li Shang was taken away. The star-twining vine wrapped around the Azura overlord, but even if he didn't defend himself, the star-twining vine couldn't break through his defenses. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The Azura overlord was so fast that he could break through a level in an instant. Everywhere he passed, all living beings bowed down. Large numbers of priesthoods knelt down, not daring to blaspheme the god's might. On the 18th level, in a deep palace, a white-haired old man opened his eyes slightly. His deep eyes ignored the confinement of time and space, and saw the Azura overlord speeding towards him. He glanced at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi, then sighed and muttered to himself, "I wonder if the upper planes really exist, and if immortals really exist. The people of the past have long decayed. If we still can't find the profound meaning of immortality, will we, the remaining upper priesthoods, return to chaos?" The 18th level was full of vitality, and the spiritual energy was extremely dense. Even the water was formed from spiritual liquid. However, other than plants and low-level creatures, there wasn't even a ghost. The old man had cultivated here alone for 1,000,000 years. In his lifetime, he had only taken in 3 outer sect disciples. They couldn't even be considered outer sect disciples. They were just menial servants. They were the 3 overlords. He only gave them a few pointers, and they became middle priesthoods. However, their talents couldn't catch the old man's eye. What the old man wanted was someone who could break through the shackles and create their own great Tao. Yi Qinghan's 5 elemental Tao body and even developed into the chaos Tao body were slightly acceptable to him. However, Emperor Ye's pure heart was unique in this world. This desolate mythological era was filled with murderous and vicious aura. There were not many who had a pure heart. The moment the elder saw Ren Huangyi appear, she was filled with anticipation. As expected, after going through 9 levels, Ren Huangyi's performance did not disappoint her. One day later, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi appeared at the intersection of the 18th and 17th levels. The Azura overlord respectfully looked into the depths and said in a low voice, "The 18th level isn't somewhere I can enter. When you see teacher, you must be respectful. Don't be casual. Do you hear me?" Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi nodded at the same time. The Lord of the Abyss was one of the strongest people in the entire universe. He had lived for countless years and was worthy of respect. "Leave this divine herb with me for now. When you come out, I'll give it to you." The Azura overlord reached out and took Li Shang away. He said calmly, "Teacher didn't summon her. She can't enter the 18th level." Li Shang panicked. Even a lesser sky god made her feel helpless, let alone an intermediate god in front of her, the Lord of the Abyss. Yi Qinghan stared at Li Shang and said in a low voice, "Stay here for now. When we're done with our business, we'll definitely come back to get you. Even if we don't have time to come back, I'm sure Senior will take good care of you. It's much better than staying by our side. Don't worry about that. As long as I'm here, this fellow Taoist won't be bullied," the Azura overlord said calmly. Yi Qinghan took the star-twining vine and divine bird, then led Emperor Yi into the 18th level. The transparent barrier outside the 18th level didn't stop them. The moment they entered the 18th level, a terrifying amount of spiritual qi entered Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's bodies. It turned into Emperor's power and strengthened their souls. The speed of their improvement was more than 10,000 times faster than the outside world. The star-twining vine, spirit-devouring godly hawk, the multicolored snake, and the god-slaying hawk in Emperor Ye's body all rushed out of their bodies and absorbed the spiritual qi with all their might. The god-slaying hawk especially, its body covered the sky as it flipped in the air. Its black feathers shone brightly and emitted an emperor's aura. It could break free at any time and become a rank 9 divine beast. Yi Qinghan didn't fly. Instead, he walked forward. He had to show some respect to the Supreme Lord of the Abyss. Chapter 485. The deepest part of the 9 underworlds represented supremacy. There were no high-level creatures here, only the 9 underworlds master. He had already seen through everything. Yi Qinghan led Emperor Yi on foot for a month before they arrived at the 9 underworlds palace. They knelt before the palace and said respectfully, "Junior Yi Qinghan is here to meet the 9 underworlds master." There was no sign of life in the deep palace. Birds built nests, Poisonous snakes coiled around, and weeds grew everywhere. It was a horrifying sight. "Come in." After a long time, a deep voice came from within the palace. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi looked at each other and stepped into the depths together. Countless poisonous snakes hissed and hissed. They were not afraid of Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi at all. They attacked from time to time, and their speed was incomparably fast. Their fangs were sinister, and they could pierce through a Thearcha's body. Yi Qinghan emitted a powerful aura to intimidate these powerful poisonous snakes, but he did not kill them. He led Emperor Yi quickly into the depths. The palace's paths were rugged and complicated. It was like the 8 trigrams palace. If one did not find the correct path, they could die here forever. Many paths were littered with white bones. It was obvious that the 9 underworld's master had summoned many people, but most of them had died in the palace. All 18 paths were exactly the same. Only the heavens knew which path was the real one. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were astonished. They looked at the fork in the road and wondered which path was the real one. In the end, there was still such a test. Moreover, it was much more dangerous than the previous tests. Just by looking at these skeletons, they knew that those who died here were not only combat thearchs, but also god priests. "Divine bird, come out," Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. The divine bird did not make a sound. It hid in the depths of the sea of consciousness and did not dare to show its head. Yi Qinghan pulled the divine bird out forcefully. "What are you doing?" Yi Qinghan asked with a frown. The divine bird didn't make a sound. It was still thinking of hiding in the sea of consciousness. It whispered, "Take the second path on the left. You'll definitely find him. From now on, don't pull me out if there's nothing important. That old man is really scary." Whoosh! The divine bird rushed into Yi Qinghan's sea of consciousness, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't pull it out. Yi Qinghan looked up at the second path and realized that there were many skeletons. He began to doubt the divine bird's judgment. That path was clearly a dead end. This palace was designed in perfect harmony with the Tao of Heaven. It had the 8 trigrams, yin and yang, heavenly empyreans, and countless spell formations. It was an indestructible palace that couldn't be destroyed, not even by a single wall. Even if the gods attacked, the result would be the same. Yi Qinghan still had some confidence in the divine bird. He led Emperor Yi into the second path. From time to time, a ferocious venomous snake would rush out and slither past Yi Qinghan, making it impossible for him to hide. Yi Qinghan transformed into the heaven-destroying saber. His saber radiance and battle aura raged as he forced the venomous snakes away. He carefully walked into the depths of the palace. The second path might really be the door of life. After reaching the depths, there were no more venomous snakes. Instead, there was a door. The door opened, and a weathered elder sat in the dragon palace. It was the 9 serenities master. "Yi Qinghan greets my lord." "Emperor Yi greets my lord." The two of them knelt in front of the palace and greeted respectfully. "Rise," the 9 serenities master said in a low voice. Whoosh! 2 stone chairs slid across the granite and appeared behind the two of them. It was very precise. Yi Qinghan could see that the elder didn't move at all. There was also no fluctuation of vital essence, but he could control everything in the room. This kind of power was definitely not something an ordinary person could achieve. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi didn't act pretentiously. They directly sat down and looked directly at the elder in front of them, waiting for him to speak. The elder was also sizing up Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. After a long time he said, "I'll grant each of you a wish. You can have any wish. You can even become my disciple." Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He hurriedly stood up and said, "Senior, the two of us don't have high expectations. We just want to return to the endless plains." The elder stared coldly at Yi Qinghan, the corner of his mouth twitching. He had made 2 wishes, and Yi Qinghan only wanted to return to the endless plains. Could it be that his status as the disciple of the 9 serenities master was inferior to that of an emperor of the endless plains? "What did you say?" The 9 serenities master's voice was cold. He only wanted to take in a disciple, but he didn't want to take the initiative to do so. He only hoped that Yi Qinghan would take the initiative. Who knew that Yi Qinghan wouldn't take the initiative, and even gave himself a hard slap? Yi Qinghan was stunned. He didn't understand what the 9 serenities master meant. He bowed again and said, "This junior only wants to return to the endless plains. However, to break through reincarnation, I must cultivate to the emperor realm. However, to reach that level it will take at least 1,000 years. This junior doesn't have that much time." Cracked at the 9 Serenities master's face grew colder and colder. He couldn't wait to slap this good-for-nothing bastard. "Is the temptation of returning to the endless plains greater than becoming my disciple?" The 9 Serenities master asked coldly. This. Yi Qinghan didn't know how to organize his words. This old monster cared about his reputation. If he rejected him directly, it would definitely be a slap in the face. Wouldn't the 9 Serenities master trample him to death? "Answer me." The 9 Serenities master asked coldly. "This junior didn't mean that. It's just that my physical body is still in the endless plains. There are still many external affairs in the endless plains, so I'm eager to return to deal with them," Yi Qinghan hurriedly explained. Emperor Yi looked at the two of them staring at each other. They didn't understand each other's thoughts and didn't know what to say. The 9 Serenities master took a deep breath. His mind, which had remained calm for 1,000,000 years, was angered by Yi Qinghan. "Emperor Yi, what's your wish? Don't tell me you also want to return to the endless plains?" The 9 Serenities master frowned and looked at Emperor Yi. "Senior, I'll follow my master. I'll go wherever he goes," Emperor Yi said without hesitation. The 9 Serenities master's fingertips trembled slightly. He clenched his fists and looked at the two of them as if they were fools. He wanted to slap them out of the 9 Serenities land. "The two of you are simply worthless trash. One of you gave up the path to the pinnacle for worldly things, and the other gave up the path to the pinnacle for a man. Trash." The 9 Serenities master scolded angrily. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. This old guy had no family, no love, and no emotions. He only wanted to become a pinnacle existence. There was no way he could understand their thoughts. Now that Divine Lotus Empress was going crazy and killing people from the insane sect, how could he not go back? Yi Qinghan bowed and said, "Senior, it's our fortune to be able to become your disciple. My son and I are naturally willing, but we're not you. We can't let go of worldly things. This is our state of mind. We're both juniors. How can we compare to you?" "Humph. I won't argue with you. I'll let you choose again," the 9 Serenities master said coldly. Yi Qinghan still chose the endless plains. The 9 Serenities master was so angry that he kicked Yi Qinghan right in the chest. Boom. Yi Qinghan couldn't dodge and crashed into the wall. His soul was almost shattered. Cough, cough. Yi Qinghan coughed a few times. He almost couldn't breathe. "Choose again." Endless plains. Boom. Yi Qinghan was sent flying again. "Choose again." Endless plains. Boom. Yi Qinghan was sent flying again. Both of them were stubborn people. Neither of them wanted to back down. The 9 Serenities master asked more than 10 times, and Yi Qinghan was beaten more than 10 times. Emperor Yi was suppressed to the side and couldn't move. Yi Qinghan looked at the 9 Serenities master stubbornly. He didn't want to change his mind. The 9 Remoteness master was also fighting. He was using his fists and legs to hit his body. It felt especially good, as though he was addicted to it. He thought to himself, "This old man doesn't believe that your body can withstand my fists." Yi Qinghan's head was dizzy, and his face was bruised and swollen. The divine bird was speechless. It rushed out of his body and looked at the 9 Serenities master with a flattering expression. 9 Serenities master, don't bother with this blockhead. He was kicked in the head when he was young, so he can't think straight. Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. This old thing liked to hear flattery, but he couldn't say it. He only wanted to live his life according to his own will. Godly spirit devourer eagle, no matter how many years it has been passed down, it can't change its temperament. It has a cheap mouth and a smart brain. However, it's not easy for you to raise this blockhead to this age. The 9 Serenities master looked down at the godly spirit devourer eagle with a faint smile. Hee, thanks for the exalted god's praise. I've been worried sick for him all these years. Exalted God, if he doesn't do well, feel free to teach him a lesson. Please don't kill him. Although this guy is a little dumb, his talent is not bad. This divine bird thinks that he can achieve immortality. The divine bird said wretchedly. Yi Qinghan. All these years, it was Yi Qinghan who had been feeding the godly spirit devourer eagle. When it came to the 9 serenities master, it was the godly spirit devourer eagle who had been feeding him. And the godly spirit devourer eagle actually accepted such a compliment. You persuade him. I want to hear him change his mind. The 9 serenities master sat on the dragon carriage and looked down at Yi Qinghan and the godly spirit devourer eagle. The corners of his mouth curled up. He was going to argue with Yi Qinghan. The godly spirit devourer eagle stared at Yi Qinghan. Suddenly it knelt down and wailed, Master, please don't be stubborn. Do you know how many intermediate gods have wished to become the exalted god's disciple? You actually gave it up. Did the cycle of reincarnation suck your brain dry? Shut up. Yi Qinghan's expression was ugly. Was this guy afraid that things weren't chaotic enough? My physical body was almost destroyed last time. Don't you know that? The endless plains are in danger now. I have to go back. Yi Qinghan rebuked angrily. But a wise man submits to circumstances. Aren't we forced to lower our heads when we're under someone else's roof? If you go head-on against him, aren't you just looking for trouble? The divine bird was helpless. It was afraid that this old monster would crush them with a slap. How about this? You go and become his disciple first. We'll go back to the endless plains and come back after some time. Let's deal with him first. The divine bird suggested. Don't even think about dealing with me. If you want to become my disciple, you have to wait until you become an exalted god, and can defeat me before you leave the 9 serenities. The 9 serenities master was disdainful. As long as he wanted to know, there was nothing in the 9 serenities that could be hidden from him. Yi Qinghan frowned. Why was this old thing even more stubborn than him? At least he wouldn't force others. Chapter 486. Inside the hall, the 3 men and the divine beast glared at each other. No one was willing to back down. The 9 remoteness master sat on the dragon throne and looked at Yi Qinghan casually. He didn't care about wasting time, but Yi Qinghan couldn't afford to waste any more time. Senior. Old senior, just tell me if you have any requests. You asked me to come all the way here. You can't just watch like this, right? Your time is precious. It's not worth wasting it on me, is it? Yi Qinghan wiped the corner of his mouth. He realized that this old man's beating was quite painful. Moreover, it was labor pains that wouldn't heal for a long time. I'm bored out of my mind. I've already wasted 1,000,000 years. Why would I care about wasting this little bit of time? The 9 remoteness master said calmly. Yi Qinghan was full of words, but he couldn't say a single word. This old man was here to make fun of him. In this day and age, there was no need to be afraid of unreasonable people, but there was no need to be afraid of an unreasonable old monster. There was nothing more powerless than this. I still have some time. I can drag this out with you until I die. Perhaps a few 100,000 years, the 9 remoteness master said calmly. Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan had only been cultivating for a little over 1,000 years since he was born. It would be better to kill him than to waste a few 100,000 years here. Will you allow me to go back first? I'll be your disciple when I return? Yi Qinghan suggested with a bitter smile. Are you saying that I'll beg you to be my disciple? The 9 remoteness master asked with a raised brow. Absolutely not. Let me go back first. I'll kneel outside the door and beg you when I return. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart. All right, you can go back, the 9 remoteness master said lazily. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes. If he could go back, why would he come here to be beaten? Senior, can't you help me? Moreover, you can't keep me in the 9 remoteness realm forever, even if I become your disciple. At least let me go out and gain experience. Yi Qinghan was speechless. How did this rotten old man cultivate to the level of a high-level god and become the master of the 9th underworld? I don't want to take you in as my disciple anymore. It's useless even if you beg me. Scram. 9 remoteness master said impatiently. Although that was what he said, the old man had no intention of sending Yi Qinghan away. He was only waiting for Yi Qinghan to kneel down and beg. Yi Qinghan exhaled rapidly. He was infuriated by the old man. This old man was clearly trying to make things difficult for him to regain some face. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, Yi Qinghan took a few deep breaths. His calm state of mind was thrown into turmoil by the old man in front of him. He almost couldn't hold himself back from exploding. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't beat this old man, he would have definitely given him a good beating. Senior. Master. Yi Qinghan had no choice but to kneel down in front of the old man. He said respectfully, Master, please accept a bow from your disciple. No, no, no. You should return to the endless plains. Nine Remoteness Master shook his head and said indifferently, I don't want to delay your dream of becoming an emperor. Yi Qinghan replied even more seriously, Master, I've thought it through. It's the fortune of 8 lifetimes to be able to become your disciple. Moreover, I don't want to go back for the dream of becoming an emperor. That's my destiny. I have to go back and solve it. Otherwise, it will be stuck in my heart, and I won't have the mood to cultivate. Both of them spoke against their will. Actually, one of them wanted to be more humble, while the other wanted the old man to give in. Yi Qinghan knelt down in front of His Highness Dragon and suppressed his anger. He said respectfully, Please teach me, Master. Sigh, mortals will always be mortals. It seems like you still need time to hone yourself. When time takes everything away from you, you'll understand that you can only keep what you want if you can defy the heavens. Nine Remoteness Master was sad. No matter how heaven-defying his cultivation was, he couldn't defy time. He allowed time to take everything away from him. Now he was all alone. Think about what I said today. You'll understand in the future. Go back. Come find me when you've thought it through, no matter when. Nine Remoteness Master took out 2 golden life tablets and gave one each to Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. He said in a low voice, This is a teleportation tablet. It has a built-in teleportation array. No matter where you are, just drip a drop of blood into the tablet, and it will bring you back. Thank you, Master. Yi Qinghan looked at Nine Remoteness Master's face and felt pity for this old man. 1,000,000 years had passed, and people had changed. If they didn't enter the superior god shrine, they would have died long ago. Medusa had to constantly evolve to survive, but she didn't have a family. If you really don't want to take me as your master, I hope you can come to me in 200,000 years before my end. Nine Remoteness Master waved his hand and sent Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi away. Even Li Shang, who was on the 17th level, was swept out of reincarnation and rushed into the endless plains. Now in the endless plains, there was a huge temple built on every planet. There was a huge stone statue in front of the temple. It was the statue of Divine Lotus Empress. Below the temple were countless smaller temples for people to burn incense and worship. The power of faith flowed into Divine Lotus Empress mind through the temples. In the imperial domain, with the ancient massacre god as the core, the temple pierced through the clouds. The ancient massacre god had become the guardian, and Di Shang had to listen to his orders. Otherwise, the ancient massacre god would cease to exist. Di Shang became the right-hand man of Divine Lotus Empress, and he fought against the lightning serpent. The cultivation environment in the endless universe was chaotic. On this day, in the depths of the endless plains, the monarch aura was dense. A monarch was rising, and the monarch tribulation was gathering. It was terrifying, as if it was going to destroy the endless plains. This monarch tribulation was the combination of Yi Qinghan and Divine Lotus Empress tribulations. It was extremely terrifying. Such a low-level monarch tribulation could kill a monarch. If someone could prove their Tao, they would be able to suppress a monarch in an instant. Divine Lotus Empress might not even be a match for him. As soon as the monarch tribulation appeared, Divine Lotus Empress was startled. She stepped into the void and looked into the distance. Qitian Monkey King held the sky-raising staff and looked at the lightning tribulation. He wanted to defy the heavens, but the pressure brought by the lightning tribulation was so great that the entire endless universe couldn't breathe. Even Alwar Star, who was far away at the border, was shocked. Qitian Monkey King is going through the tribulation. Xia Qiyue squinted her eyes and swallowed her saliva. She couldn't hold it in anymore. If Qitian Monkey King was going to prove his Tao again, he would have to withstand the lightning tribulations of 3 monarchs. There was no way he could do that. Not even Yi Qinghan could do that. Because of Divine Lotus Empress, The hope of proving one's Tao in the endless plains was getting smaller and smaller. No one was confident that they could overcome the tribulation. This was the weakness of the small plains. The heavenly Tao wasn't strong enough, and it didn't allow too many monarchs to appear in a small plain. Especially in this era, it was different from the desolate era. If Qitian Monkey King succeeded in proving his Tao, then all paths would be blocked. The people of the Kuang sect were in a difficult position. They hoped that he would succeed, but they didn't want him to succeed. Jikan and Qingyang still didn't come out. No one knew where they were hiding. Yifeng quietly appeared outside the void and looked at the lightning tribulation. The lightning serpent looked cold and murderous. I can't let Qitian Monkey King succeed, or else I won't have another chance. The lightning serpent looked into the void and said to himself, "Boom! Wah!" A thunderous bolt shook the stars as the lightning tore through the clouds and struck towards the Qitian Monkey King. The lightning bolt was as thick as a water bucket. Kill! Qitian Monkey King swung his cudgel at lightning, causing the heavens to crumble and the earth to crack as he charged out. Boom! The lightning fell and clashed with the staff. It pierced through all the restrictions and entered Qitian Monkey King's body. Boom! The lightning pierced through the defense and blasted Qitian Monkey King's flesh and blood. His body was smashed into the dead star. Pooh! Qitian Monkey King coughed out blood. The combined attack of two monarchs wasn't something that a human could resist, not even a monarch. Let alone an existence like Qitian Monkey King, who had just passed his tribulation. Hua hua hua. Lightning struck down one after another, piercing through the dead star. The dead star exploded, and Qi rushed into the galaxy. Qitian Monkey King was covered in wounds, and his bones were exposed. He kept dodging in a sorry state, but his eyes were filled with battle intent. He wasn't willing to admit defeat. If Yi Qinghan's body can attain Tao, I can too. Qitian Monkey King took a deep breath and quickly recovered. He had made ample preparations for this battle. Many years ago, many divine herbs flew out from the forbidden grounds. He had caught two of them, and now he swallowed one of them. Boom! The divine herb turned into endless divine power that flowed through his limbs and bones. Qitian Monkey King's body recovered rapidly. It even strengthened a little. Kill! Qitian Monkey King charged at the lightning tribulation, and charged out of the 9 heavens without caring about anything else. There were staff shadows everywhere in the world. The staff in his hand was actually able to block the lightning tribulation. It blocked a small portion of its power, and gave Qitian Monkey King a chance to survive. Boom boom boom, thousands of lightning bolts, followed by tens of thousands of lightning bolts. Finally, they covered the entire world. Qitian Monkey King waved the universe and his staff techniques were extremely powerful. One staff strike could split the sky. He was indeed very strong. However, when facing such a great emperor tribulation, he could only accept his death. The first divine herb's medicinal power was used up, and the second divine herb was swallowed into his stomach. Only now did he realize that he hadn't made sufficient preparations. 2 divine herbs were not enough. He needed at least several times more divine herbs to support his tribulation. Moreover, the chances of success were not high. What should I do? Qitian Monkey King's eyes were filled with anger and despair. Once this divine herb was used up, he could only wait for his death. I can't accept this. I have cultivated in seclusion for thousands of years and sealed myself for 10,000 years just to attain Tao. Am I going to die under the lightning tribulation like this? Qitian Monkey King hurriedly escaped to buy himself some time. In the distance, Divine Lotus Empress smirked. Looking at the scene before her, she knew that Qitian Monkey King no longer had a chance. She turned and retreated. Yi Qinghan sighed. Qitian Monkey King was very strong. If he didn't have a chance to attain Tao, others wouldn't have a chance either. Yi Qinghan and Divine Lotus Empress had opened a heavenly gate that couldn't be crossed. If they wanted to reach it, they had to cross these 2 barriers. Are they really going to kill us all? Yifeng looked up at the sky and was extremely unwilling. Living in this era was the era that countless heroes hoped to appear. However, it was also the cruelest era. Especially for super experts, it was simply a heart-wrenching pain. Chapter 487. The lightning tribulation stirred up the universe, and countless stars exploded. When the lightning turned into a dragon, everyone was shocked. In this chaotic world, heroes and heroes appeared at the same time. There was only death in front of them, but they fought until their blood boiled. They didn't want to live forever, but they wanted to fight to their heart's content. Chitian Monkey King was known as Chitian. At this moment, he was unyielding, and his golden body was tens of thousands of feet tall. He stood in the sky, and the second divine medicine was mostly consumed. His golden body shone brightly as he fought against the lightning. The lightning tribulation was too powerful. It was so powerful that it surpassed Yiqing Han's lightning tribulation. The fact that he could last until now was enough to explain everything. He was worthy of the world's respect. I, Chitian Monkey, have experienced hundreds and thousands of years, sealed myself for tens of thousands of years, fought in the Forbidden Land, killed the mechanical civilization, and fought alongside Yiqing Han 3 times to protect the world. I don't talk about merit, but I seek peace of mind. Now I am fighting with my life. If I die in the chaos, I beg the world to treat the myriad races well. Chitian Monkey King's tragic voice resounded through the mountains and rivers, spreading to the endless plains. Now the myriad races had suffered heavy casualties in the Forbidden Land, and all the higher-ups had died. He was the only one left, and the mission of his race forced him to consider the myriad races. At this moment, not only were the myriad races crying, but the human race also knelt down and prayed for him. The aura of the endless plains was extremely oppressive. At this moment, other than the Divine Lotus Emperor, there was no one else who could help Chitian Monkey King. However, the Divine Lotus Emperor wouldn't help. Yifeng was sad, and he clenched his fist helplessly. Fighting against the heavens, how heroic was this? Unfortunately, he wasn't the first to prove his Tao. Kanyang had arrived outside the chaos, and he was watching the lightning tribulation, hoping to build a glimmer of hope for himself. Boom! Lightning pounced on Chitian Monkey King again. The sharp lightning was invincible, and it could tear through time and space in an instant. In the desolate wilderness, the blood of emperors splattered everywhere, burning the heavens. The heavenly Monkey King roared in anger as he struggled madly. His aura grew stronger and stronger as he continuously charged against the lightning tribulation. Unfortunately, only a tenth of the essence of his body remained. He wanted to shine his most glorious moment in the world. I hate that I can't borrow another 500 years. The Chitian Monkey King raised his head and roared. The battle staff in his hand whistled in a tragic manner. He puffed out his chest and welcomed the lightning waterfall that was 10,000 miles long and 100 miles wide. He was waiting for the final tragedy. The people of the world were crying. Chitian Monkey King had always been upright and upright. Now that he was about to die, how could they not cry for him? Heavy rain poured down between heaven and earth, instantly drowning the endless Milky Way. It was as if the heavens were crying for him. Lightning streaked across space and approached from afar, instantly descending in front of Chitian Monkey King. Yifeng and Kanyang were filled with despair. Who could stop this kind of God's retribution? Regardless of whether the heavenly Monkey King could succeed or not, there was no hope for them. Chitian Monkey King smiled bitterly. His combat power was on the Dead Star. He held the staff in his right hand and no longer resisted. Whoosh! The lightning engulfed the stars, and in an instant, the dead stars were reduced to dust. Kanyang and the rest stared with their eyes wide open. They knew that the Monkey King today would be them in the future. However, they realized that a black shadow had appeared and carried the Monkey King away. It was even faster than lightning. Whoosh! Yiqing Han appeared out of nowhere and grabbed Chitian Monkey King. 2 powerful godly herbs appeared in his hands and he passed them to Chitian Monkey King. Chitian Monkey King was stunned. He thought that he was going to die, but he did not expect Yiqing Han, who was far away in the cycle of reincarnation, to be willing to save him in such a dangerous situation. Eat it. I will protect you and delay the god's retribution for now. Whether or not I can help you to attain Tao will depend on your own luck. Yiqing Han said in a low voice. Boom. Yiqing Han summoned Zhong Kuang, who was still in spirit form. Emperor Yi had already entered Xiaozhan planet and merged with his physical body. He would be able to bring his physical body back soon. Due to the interference of outsiders, the god's retribution was even more violent. It was as if it was going to destroy the entire elemental wilderness. Qitian Monkey King swallowed a godly herb and quickly recovered. Yi Qinghan carried him and sped through the elemental wilderness, dodging the lightning. Boom! A bolt of lightning flashed behind them and pierced through a star. Following closely were countless bolts of lightning that were getting stronger and stronger. Qitian Monkey King quickly recovered from his injuries. He exchanged glances with Yi Qinghan and turned around to face the lightning. They joined forces to fight against the god's retribution. Boom! The long rod and Zhongquang tore through heaven and earth. The two of them were instantly stained with blood, but they were extremely powerful. Stalks of godly herbs were consumed rapidly. However, Yi Qinghan did not have much other than godly herbs. Back when he killed the ghost slave of the sky god, the godly herbs in the yin and yang ring were enough to feed the star-twisting vine for a long time. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The lightning was tyrannical and could not tolerate others interfering with the god's retribution. It was as though it had a grudge with Yi Qinghan. Most of its power was directed at Yi Qinghan. Now that Yi Qinghan's spirit had attained Tao, he did not put this thing in his eyes. He charged forward forcefully and the lightning was cut in half. He almost reached the clouds and pierced through the firmament. Hum hum hum. Hum hum hum. Emperor Yi held the emperor's zither and played a tune to attack the heavens. It was as though a goddess had descended and brought Yi Qinghan's physical body out of the wilderness. Master, merge with your physical body first. I'll protect him. After Emperor Yi finished speaking, he pushed his physical body into the wilderness. He stepped into the god's retribution and used the god's retribution to temper his emperor's body. The emperor's zither exploded, and the sound of the zither tore through the lightning. Yi Qinghan's golden body radiated divine light in all directions as he waited for his spirit to return. Yi Qinghan's spirit rushed into his physical body and merged with it in the blink of an eye. His true peak state appeared. His aura soared into the sky and shook the space-time billions of miles away. He wanted to break through the plane's shackles and rush to another small plane. The lightning drowned Yi Qinghan and Qitian Monkey King. However, Yi Qinghan did not even bother to defend himself. He took the initiative to absorb the power of the lightning and gathered the origin of the lightning to temper his thunder god's body. He started to forge the primal chaos body. The origin of the lightning fled frantically, not wanting to become Yi Qinghan's food. However, Yi Qinghan was too strong. He forcefully absorbed most of the god's retribution. His physical body shone with a dazzling light that made it hard for people to open their eyes. The pressure on Qitian Monkey King instantly disappeared. He swallowed another divine medicine and suppressed the god's retribution. He successfully defied the heavens. Golden light descended from the sky and enveloped him. He had undergone the baptism of the golden light after the great emperor's retribution. His divine prowess was vast and mighty. His golden eyes pierced through the firmament and saw through all the illusory origins. The god's retribution dissipated. Another 2 rays of golden light rushed towards Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Qitian Monkey King's golden light was mostly taken away by Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. However, he did not feel jealous or resentful. If it was not for Yi Qinghan, he would have been turned into ashes. Thank you for your help. Qitian Monkey King cupped his fists and said, "You don't have to be so courteous. Now that all the great emperors have appeared, isn't it good?" Yi Qinghan smiled and replied. The 3 of them stepped out of the wilderness and scanned the heavens. Kenyang Yifeng and the others gasped. The 4th great emperor was born. In the future, if they wanted to pass the god's retribution successfully, it meant that they would have to endure the god's retribution of 4 great emperors. Was there any hope left? Divine Lotus Empress looked from afar and frowned at Yi Qinghan. She did not expect him to come back in such a short time. Divine Lotus Empress was alarmed. The lightning snake was so scared that its face turned purple. It did not dare to do anything and could only pray that Yi Qinghan did not care about a small fry like it. Yi Qinghan strolled over and used his divine sense to sense the endless plains. Countless statues stood tall, and the cultivation environment had been messed up. Rich families drank and ate rotten meat, and there were frozen bones on the road. Ordinary creatures were miserable. Kacha. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and looked down at Divine Lotus Empress. This is the world you want. This is the faith you want. What have you done for the mortal world? The continuous questioning made Divine Lotus Empress frown. She did not know how to manage the endless dynasty. She only knew that she needed faith. She left the rest to the lightning snake. Boom. Yi Qinghan's mind moved, and the entire endless nameless godly temple collapsed. All the clergy were killed. You. Divine Lotus Empress was furious. What do you want to do? 100 years is not up yet. Don't interfere. Divine Lotus, the endless plains were exchanged with the lives of countless heroes. We will not allow you to destroy them. If you want faith, you should go to the mortal world and listen to their pleas. Only then will you be able to obtain true faith. You don't care about the lives of the mortals. What a fool. A cold light flashed in Yi Qinghan's eyes as he coldly said, "Don't force me to destroy the imperial domain. I'll destroy you. From today onwards, you will travel the endless plains and see what life is like in the mortal world. Then think about the purpose of your cultivation. Once you've thought it through, come back and find me." What is this? Are you going to exile me? Divine Lotus Empress smirked. Behind her, the blue lotus soul-stealing lotus appeared. You can say that. However, I just want you to understand that if you want faith, you have to give something. This is an equal exchange. If you don't give anything, what right do you have to keep taking? Just because you are strong doesn't mean the world is yours. Yi Qinghan said coldly. You and I are both great emperors. What right do you have to exile me? Yi Qinghan, I did you a favor, and Emperor Yi did me a favor. We are even. Don't try to teach me what to do. I know what I am doing. If I want something, I will take it back with my fists. Divine Lotus Empress scolded coldly. Yi Qinghan frowned. He didn't expect the pure Divine Lotus Empress to have such thoughts. Why would you think that? Taking things by force is not your intention. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Sha sha sha. The lightning snake trembled slightly and tried to escape. However, it could not escape Yi Qinghan's divine sense. A wisp of divine sense suppressed the lightning snake and captured it. Are you the one who told Divine Lotus to do this? Yi Qinghan sneered. He looked at the lightning snake's cold and handsome face and thought of Ming Ke, Er's tragic death. He waved his hand and suppressed the lightning snake to the ground, forcing it back to its original form. I won't kill you. From now on, you will cultivate again for 10,000 years. After you transform, your Tao heart will shatter. You will have to cultivate again and reincarnate for 10 million years. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed with a cruel light. He wanted to torture the lightning snake until it turned into Tao. Hiss hiss hiss. The lightning snake turned back into its original form and rushed towards the mountains. It was chased by eagles and was in a sorry state. Chapter 488. Divine Lotus Empress retreated cautiously. Now that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had both proven their Tao at the same time, they were no longer the quasi-emperors of the past. Even if she cultivated for 1,000,000 years and comprehended all the origins of the great Tao, she still wouldn't be a match for the two of them. Divine Lotus, if you proclaim yourself as an emperor and go to the mortal world for 1,000 years to comprehend life, I won't make things difficult for you. Otherwise, I will kill you even if I have to give up the monarch domain. Yi Qinghan said forcefully. Divine Lotus wasn't willing. This was a humiliation to her. How could a great emperor be controlled by someone else? Divine Lotus Great Emperor, you should go and experience the joys and sorrows of the mortal world. Only then will you understand the human heart. Actually, if you help them, they will naturally be willing to give up their faith. Of course, there are some who are greedy and shameless and want to take advantage of your kindness, but that is only a minority. Qitian Monkey King pressed forward and said in a low voice. Emperor Yi frowned. For a great emperor like Divine Lotus, the more she was suppressed, the more she would resist. Master, you guys leave first. I will talk to Sister Divine Lotus for a while. Emperor Yi said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan nodded and retreated into the ancient massacre god with Qitian Monkey King. Now looking at the ancient massacre god again, it was a different feeling. In the monarch domain, Emperor Yi took the initiative to hold Divine Lotus Empress's hand and said softly, I know that you are kind by nature and robbing by force isn't in your nature. Let me bring you to see life. Maybe you will understand. Divine Lotus Empress didn't resist. Ren Huangye's physical body wasn't that strong. He was only so close to her because he wanted to show her his trust in her. Therefore, she followed Ren Huangye to a weak planet. The cultivators here weren't that strong. It was already good enough that one of them was in the divine martial realm. Most of them were in the blood ignition realm or even mortals. A war had just ended here. The weak practitioners were living on the edge of life and death. Even more mortals were eating wild grass and gnawing on tree bark. They were so skinny that they seemed to have no bones. Children looked at the practitioners who could still save their lives with their big helpless eyes, hoping to beg for some food. In the end, they were mercilessly chased away by the practitioners. They were even sent flying with a wave of their hands. Some of the hypocrites threw out steamed buns, allowing the refugees to fight over them while they laughed maniacally, mocking the people of the world. The children did not care that the food was dirty at all. They threw themselves onto the steamed buns and held them tightly in their arms. They did not want to give up, even though everyone was stepping on them. Shen Lian frowned as she looked at the world. Scenes like this could be seen everywhere. After a round of fighting, several children were knocked down, and the food in their arms was taken away by the adults. In the end, they cried bitterly and dragged their exhausted and skinny bodies to a small tent in the distance, secretly licking their wounds. One of them was a little boy who seemed to be only 7 or 8 years old. His hands were clenched tightly on the ground, dripping with blood. No matter how the crowd kicked and beat him, he was unwilling to turn over, let alone give up the food in his arms. In the end, perhaps because everyone was kind, he escaped. The child sensed that everyone had left. He got up and grabbed 2 deformed steamed buns and rushed into the distance. Emperor Yi and Shen Lian followed the child all the way to the edge of a barren desert. There was no war here, and many refugees lived here. Corpses were strewn all over the ground. Some had died of starvation, while others had frozen to death. There were too many people like this. There were too many to count. Every star in every corner was repeating the same story. The child rushed into a 1-meter-tall tent. Or rather, it could not be called a tent. It was a doghouse built from a pile of withered grass and a few pieces of rotten wood. Little brother, little sister, come out quickly. Big brother found something to eat. The child knelt in front of the tent and trembled as he took out 2 black steamed buns. His face was filled with happiness. 2 even skinnier children crawled out of the tent. They were so skinny that their bones could be seen. They did not have any vitality left. When they saw the steamed buns, they began to crazily chew on them. They choked and drank a mouthful of murky yellow water. Emperor Ye's expression was ugly. How could such a scene occur when he was about to leave the boundless plain? This is the product of your tyrannical plundering. Are you happy to see all of this? Is it in line with your cultivation? Emperor Yi stared at Divine Lotus Empress and asked in a low voice. Back then, mortals could farm and eat their fill. Cultivators never involved mortals in their battles. What about now? Rich families have rotten meat and wine, and there are frozen corpses everywhere. But you allowed people to fight and encourage war. The faith you received is not as much as the sin you received. What's the point of cultivating for thousands of years? Emperor Ye's continuous questioning made Divine Lotus Empress speechless. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Divine Lotus Empress was filled with guilt. Her eyes were filled with tears. She came to the tent and knelt in front of the 3 children. Big sister is so beautiful. The little girl, who was only 3 or 4 years old, could only use such words to describe Divine Lotus Empress. Being touched by her made her feel very comfortable. She could not help but want to lie in her arms. The 3 children were bathed in godly light. The big boy's injuries were healed. He looked at Divine Lotus Empress in shock and quickly knelt on the ground. He kept thanking her. Divine Lotus Empress was not happy. Her eyes were filled with tears. The little girl wiped away her tears and broke Divine Lotus Empress's last defense. She could not help but cry and apologize. The children did not understand how sad it was for a great emperor to cry like this. You are a great emperor. If you want to change this world, it's easy. But if you want to change a world that is filled with evil, it will take a lot of effort. Emperor Yi looked at Divine Lotus Empress and said with a hoarse voice, I can help you reorganize half of the boundless plain. Can you restore the other half to its former glory? What should I do? How can I make up for my mistakes? Divine Lotus Empress was confused. She looked at the countless refugees around her and did not know what to do. Suppress the strong. Guide the cultivators to open the granaries and release food. Pacify the refugees and provide them with a home. A complete home where they can farm, where they can eat their fill and wear warm clothes. The elderly without children can die peacefully. The young without parents can grow up. You can obtain faith, and the cultivators can obtain rewards. Why not? Emperor Yi reminded. On that day, 4 great emperors appeared in the 4 corners of the endless universe. They forcefully suppressed all the cultivators who were powerful and unscrupulous. They ordered those who were virtuous to open the warehouse and distribute food. Countless cultivators maintained order and provided food to a large number of refugees. The elderly and orphans received special care. Godly light shot into the sky. Countless living beings in the boundless universe knelt down. They did not recognize anyone but Yi Qinghan. He was the young man who started fighting for the boundless universe when he was still in the god martial realm. He had saved countless living beings from the brink of death many times. Yi Qinghan's godly light shone even brighter. He descended to the center of the boundless universe. With a thought, countless clones appeared. Every star had a young man who looked down on all living beings. I am Yi Qinghan, the Emperor of the boundless universe. I command all the cultivators in the boundless universe. No war is allowed in the next 3 years. Those who disobey will be killed without mercy. Cultivators' rich and powerful sects will open their granaries to save lives. The strongest person on each big star will be the Star Master. The Star Master must think for the common people's lives. Every 100 years, the person with the strongest merit will be conferred the title of Great Emperor. Those without merit will be exiled to the ancient purgatory, never to come out. The crazy sect will be the boundless universe's inspector. They can supervise the star lords of each star. Yi Qinghan's godly light shone brightly. His voice resounded in the boundless universe at the same time. The powerful cultivators were excited. This was the only chance to become a great emperor. Blessing of the 5 elements. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth. Yi Qinghan formed a seal with his palms. The elemental energy turned into divine rain, removing the impurities and diseases of the people. It was like a divine miracle. The power of faith of the people immediately rushed towards Yi Qinghan. Weng Weng Weng. Emperor Yi played a celestial song. It turned into a celestial medicine and spread towards the boundless universe. Divine Lotus Empress turned into a heavenly lotus. She performed a terrifying divine miracle. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth rushed into the sky. The light of treasures filled the entire boundless universe. The medicinal properties of the divine lotus could revive the dead. It could reverse yin and yang. It was extremely terrifying. Qitian Monkey King used the karma opportunity to let the people of the world understand the cycle of karma. It caused people to be kind and reject evil. At this moment, the boundless universe changed. The evil aura dissipated. Divine light filled the air. The ancient massacre god became the inspector's enforcer. He roamed the world to uphold justice. He was not afraid of evil. Even the star lords did not dare to offend him. Yi Qinghan and the others seemed to have performed a simple divine miracle, but in reality, it took a lot of effort. This was especially true for Divine Lotus Empress. She used up 20% of her life force. 20% of the life force of a great emperor. How terrifying was that? The 4 great emperors slept in different places for a whole 100 years. They received the reverence and worship of the people of the world. One statue after another was erected by the mortals. They were all sincerely worshipping the great emperors. The divine miracle was passed down from generation to generation. Yi Qinghan was revered as a deity by the common people. Almost every city had a statue of him, which didn't conflict with the other statues. Emperor Yi was revered as the Zither Empress by the people of the world. There were also some who called her the goddess. She did not have that many statues, but she had more than Divine Lotus Empress and Qitian Monkey King. Divine Lotus Empress and Qitian Monkey King also started to have different worshippers. They were respectively called the Lotus God and the War God. The war god represented light and war. He was the idol of many young people. There was no conflict between the different beliefs. Some people worshipped all four great emperors at the same time, and there were many of them. The people of the world created a kind of statue. It was a statue of the four great emperors. Some people carved Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's divinity and sold it at a sky-high price. Many people opened up a new path because of this skill. The people of the insane sect were also speeding up their cultivation. They were preparing to break through to the great emperor realm. Xia Qiyue, her brother, Gu Qingyu, and the others had almost stepped into the great emperor realm. They were only one lightning tribulation away. However, this lightning tribulation was not easy to pass. They needed Yi Qinghan's help. On this day, Wuxia brought Uncle One to the central palace, the original location of the insane sect. There were 4 statues in the palace. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were in the middle. Qitian Monkey King and Divine Lotus Empress were on the sides. Master, I will break through to the great emperor tribulation in 3 years. Please bless me, Master. I can restore the glory of the golden bloodline. Wuxia respectfully kowtowed a few times. Uncle Wen also kowtowed a few times. Ever since he had become Yi Qinghan's disciple, he had seen more of Yi Qinghan than he had seen the statue, which made him feel rather helpless. However, thanks to the care and nurturing of his fellow disciples and martial uncles, he was able to reach the quasi-emperor realm in just 200 years. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.